podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the Premier Radio Networks on Sunday, October 17th, 2021. This is episode 1838. Enjoy. The Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by Worldwide Technology and NetApp. With an innovative culture, thousands of IT engineers, application developers, unmatched labs, and integration centers for testing and deploying technology at scale, WWT helps customers bridge the gap between strategy and execution. To learn more about WWT, visit wwt.com/twit. And by Stamps.com. Save time and money with Stamps.com. There's no risk. And with our promo code TWIT, you'll get a special offer that includes a 4-week trial, plus free postage and a digital scale. No long-term commitments or contracts. Just go to Stamps.com. Click the microphone at the top of the homepage and type in TWIT. And by userway.org. Userway ensures your website is accessible, ADA compliant, and helps your business avoid accessibility-related lawsuits. The perfect way to showcase your brand's commitment to millions of people with disabilities. It's not only the right thing to do, it's also the law. Go to userway.org/twit for 30% off Userway's AI-powered accessibility solution. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. Time to talk about computers and the internet and home theater and digital photography and smartphones and smart watches and augmented reality and virtual reality and even maybe a little bit, tiny bit of real reality. This is the Tech Show, the Tech Talk Show. Oh, man, we should have called this Tech Talk. And then we could have put it on a TikTok and it would have been a hot show. But no, I don't dance very well. 8888 Ask Leo is the phone number if you want to talk tech talk. I bet you there's a Tech Talk show somewhere. That's pretty obvious, isn't it? 8888 Ask Leo. That's toll free from the U.S. or Canada. Outside that area, you can still reach me, but it'll have to be something like Skype out. Some sort of internet phone calling device. Should still be free, though. 8888 Ask Leo website, and you should know this because it's free. There's no sign up, and it's where everything we talk about on the show goes. So if you hear something, you don't have to worry about writing it down. Links, information, even the very audio and video of this show will end up there. TechGuyLabs.com. TechGuyLabs.com. So it's kind of your year-round resource for tech information. TechGuyLabs.com. Tomorrow, as I record this, Monday, is a big day for Apple world, Apple lovers. The Apple event, you know, Apple never says what their events are about. They had an iPhone event, but there's other products that they probably should be updating roundabout now. We know there's a new version of the AirPods that they haven't announced yet. We know it. I don't know how we know that. We know it. I tell you how we know it, because they make these in China, and the people who make them are getting $5 a day. So there is some incentive for them at some point to find somebody and say, I will sell you the information about this product that I just made today. If you give me $10, they go, okay, 2 days pay. So it's really hard for Apple to control the leaks out of China, out of the manufacturing area. So that's mostly what we get is information like that. We don't get much from the folks in Cupertino, Apple's world headquarters, because Apple has a private security force. I don't know what we're going to see tomorrow, but I'll tell you what I think we're going to see tomorrow. I'm going to mention, though, that it could be AirPods. It could be a new Apple TV, also rumored to be in production. But it is most likely new Macs. New Mac laptops and a new Mac Mini, higher-end device. And so if you've been in the market for a Mac and you want to take a look at these new Macs, these will be featuring Apple's replacement for Intel chips, their own Apple Silicon. The latest rumor just out, hot, fresh off the rumor mill this morning, is that they will be called the M1 Pro. The M1 is a chip out right now. And the M1 Max. I don't know if that's true. But that's, Apple already has phones called the Pro and the Max, so maybe M1 Pro and M1 Max. There will be, we're pretty sure, because again, China, 14-inch and 16-inch MacBook Pros based on these new chips should be very fast, very impressive, great battery life, and probably also rumored a new Mac Mini. They put out a Mac Mini with the M1 chip already. In fact, laptops with the M1 chip already, but these would be the Pro. Get it? M1 Pro and Max versions. Maybe a new iMac. They still haven't replaced the Intel 27-inch Intel iMac. That needs to be replaced, as does the Mac Pro. Once they get all of those, they'll have the whole line out on Apple Silicon. And when Apple announced that they were abandoning Intel and moving to their own chips, they said it's going to take 2 years. So we're only in year 1. So maybe the iMac and Mac Pro next year. Maybe. After that, on Tuesday, Google will announce its Pixel, the new Pixel phone, which we know everything about. They've even leaked ads. I mean, at this point, Google's a sieve. Where Apple is locked up tight, Google just, anything goes. So we know, I don't know what they're going to announce that we don't already know. Maybe they'll find something. But the Pixel 6 and the Pixel 6 Pro look like very, very nice phones. If you're an Android phone user, these are probably the phones to look at. So, and then Wednesday, first Apple, then Google. Wednesday, Samsung is just going to take up the rear saying, me too, I got something new. I don't know what it is. It's Samsung's Unpacked Chapter 2, whatever that is. The M1 Mini Pro Max. I like it. Or the Mini Max, just the Mini Max for short. New York Times article about Facebook and Instagram. Instagram, as you know, been in the news lately. The news. That's where the Senate has been investigating, and the European Union and so forth. And of course, the biggest fear is that there are internal studies that show Instagram is bad for young people, especially young girls. So is 17 magazine, I'm sure. Instagram's, this is the headline in the New York Times, Instagram struggles with fears of losing its pipeline, a.k.a. young users. Sometimes I wonder if we need to worry about Facebook and Instagram so much because there's just a natural life cycle, and I think that they're on the downhill side of it. Kids don't want to use Facebook because mom and dad and grandpa and grandma are using Facebook. So that's a real problem for Facebook. They bought Instagram for $1 billion. It was a good deal. Hoping to forestall that. They also bought WhatsApp, thinking that, well, maybe we'll get the youngs that way. They tried to buy Snapchat, which young people do like to use. TikTok, unfortunately for Facebook, is way too valuable at this point. They can't buy that. But when they bought Instagram for $1 billion, they figured, well, this will be our pipeline for young people into the Facebook universe. It was at the time, I think, a pretty big hit. In fact, with young people. And in fact, I think that their response to not being able to buy Snapchat, a big competitor at the time, all the young people were using Snapchat, was, well, we'll make Instagram look like Snapchat. They added a lot of Snapchat features, filters, and stories and all that stuff. Instagram reached 1 billion users 3 years ago. But according to internal documents seen by the New York Times, the company's angst and dread, I'm reading from the article, as it has wrestled behind the scenes with retaining, engaging, and attracting young users. They were spending almost all of their ad budget to attract teens. It particularly emphasized a category called early high school. Now, the Child Online Protection and Privacy Act, COPPA, prevents people from selling ads or collecting information about people under 13. Rightly so. Protects kids. So early high school is the youngest Instagram could go after, 13 to 15-year-olds. And they spent millions trying to attract these youngs. But the problem is, according to a recent survey, only 22% of teenagers named Instagram as their favorite social media app, a distant third to Snapchat and TikTok. But, as time goes by, TikTok or Snapchat will start to appear like, oh, yeah, that's what college kids use. And that's what the 20-somethings use. Oh, yeah, that's what people in their 30s, 40s, 50s use. Oh, yeah, grandpa's using that. I don't want to use it. I think this is a natural thing, isn't it? Young people want their own place to play. And so naturally, they're going to move on to whatever, other people in their cohort are using. Although this is according to internal studies, this is leaked by 2 former Instagram employees. The average teen time spent on Instagram, remember, they're not the most popular, but among the teens who are there, the average time during pandemic spent on Instagram was 3 to 4 hours a day. What the heck? Wow. I don't think it's a problem. I think Instagram's fine. Live it up, kids. I'm really torn about this whole battle over social media. I mean, clearly it's a cesspool. I don't participate. I stopped. I quit Instagram and Facebook and mostly quit Twitter, and I quit them all, posting on all of them some years ago because I never felt good afterwards. I never felt good going in 3 to 4 hours a day. I'd be we call that doom scrolling, right? You're scrolling and scrolling, and you feel worse and worse, and the news is worse and worse, and you can't stop, and you're, ugh. So I noticed I was doing that. I said, well, I don't want to do that anymore. I have accounts still on Instagram and Twitter just because I have to, so, I can see what's going on there, but I really don't like them, and I don't use them. And actually, I just gave up on Facebook entirely. I don't feel like I really need to see what's going on. And I think that we can just probably sit back, relax, enjoy the ride as they drift off into the sunset as a new age cohort comes along and says, no, I don't like that. I'm going to use this. TikTok right now is on fire. More hours spent watching TikTok than YouTube. It's number 1. So if it's 3 to 4 hours for Instagram, I don't know. It must be all day for TikTok. It's the entertainment for young people. No wonder they have a short attention span. Holy cow. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number if you want to talk high tech, talk about the news, or talk about what's going on with your system, whatever's on your mind. Let's do it. Hello, Sammy.
Hello, Leo.
How are you? I'm good. So now you can tell me about the GT. Did you love it?
It was great. I think in most respects, I think I actually prefer driving it to the GT500, the Shelby GT500.
What? That's crazy talk. Don't let Ford hear you say that.
The GT500, makes a great noise.
Yeah.
But this thing is just so useful, and it's just as quick off the line.
That's amazing.
And it's a surprising amount of fun to drive.
I see that people are already buying them. I see on Reddit people are already. How expensive is it?
The GT starts at $60,000.
Oh.
And then the performance edition is an.
The performance edition.
The performance edition is an extra $5,000. And I would definitely recommend, if you're looking at the GT, if you can swing the extra $5,000 for the performance edition, you should do that. Nice. Because it comes with these Magna Ride dampers that are fantastic. They give you a lot better ride quality, better handling, and it also comes with better seats.
Well, I guess I'm stuck with my Mach-E for a couple more years. I'm very happy.
You know what? You're fine.
I'm very happy. Even Lisa likes it.
There's no reason to upgrade.
Yeah. We got a note from our Mini Cooper dealer that hers is going to come in about a month, so she's very excited about that.
Cool.
She's going to buzz around town in her little Mini. Do not call that number. It's funny. So that's one pop music. That's one phone number, and then the other one was 867-5309. And I don't know about Beechwood, but I know that every area code, somebody's got 867-5309, and either they're very unhappy or they put a message on it, or some company has bought it.
I was thinking the phone companies just wouldn't give those out.
No, they do.
They do?
Yeah.
All right.
So, please don't call it. Please don't call it. The poor people who own Beechwood 65789 or whatever it was.
Well, there is no Beechwood. That's the way they used to do things.
Yeah, but it's BE, so you could say what BE is on your phone.
I see. I never even understood that song.
So yeah, because that's the thing. I think the people who have that phone number, they're saying, well, nobody's called me in 43 years. I don't know what the problem is. Hello, Kim Schaffer, phone angel.
Good day.
Good day.
Good day.
Beechwood 45789.
45703.
I don't know what the number is. That's good. It's an old song.
It's an old song.
Who should I? Who called us? 8888 Ask Leo. Who called us today?
Don in Springfield, Illinois. He's going on a cruise.
Oh,
yeah.
As you know, I'm a fan of the big boat.
Yeah, I haven't been on one in a long time.
Have you been on cruises?
I've been on 5.
5.
But I haven't been on one since.
Was this something your parents brought you on, or?
My mom took me on my first one, and then the other ones I went through radio.
Oh, radio cruise, yeah.
Friends of mine were endorsing radio cruises,
and I went with them. Back in 1989, when the Giants won the pennant, I think. Did they win the World Series that year? I can't remember.
Well, speaking of, it's the 32nd anniversary of that.
Yeah.
The earthquake today.
Oh.
And the A's and the Giants were in the 89 World Series,
right.
and they had to stop it.
I remember now. Yes,
the A's won. Yeah, I don't think the Giants actually won until 2010.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, but that was the first time we'd been in a World Series in years
since they came from New York.
Yeah,
right.
And I went on a cruise because I was the president at the time of the KNBR Giants fan club.
Oh wow!
And I took about a bunch of Giants fans and about 8 Giants on a cruise. It was kind of hard, though.
The Thrill?
No, but Kevin Mitchell was on it. I remember because I was in a hot tub, and Kevin, who was a really big guy,
he filled up the hot tub.
Got in, all the water went out. Then he said, well, nice to meet you, got out, and it was like 3 inches of water left.
You're freezing.
Yeah, Kevin. But no, the players spent most of the time in their rooms, which meant there were a lot of for a whole week. A lot of disgruntled Giants fans said, where are the Giants? I came here to see the Giants. There's no Giants.
Well, you know how it is. Celebrities are very introverted.
Maybe.
You can speak from personal
On our cruise, I promise I will not do that to you. I will be very front and center. My wife and I and our host of our Windows Weekly show, Paul Thurrott, we're going on a cruise to Alaska this summer in July. And we're inviting you all to go. If you want to go, cruise.twit.tv. All right, there's my plug for the day.
That was unintentional, but go to Don, who's going on a cruise.
I snuck it in. Hey, Don, Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. My name's Don, and I've taken my wife and kids on a cruise here in a couple weeks. And first one since the pandemic. And if I was a gambling man, I would bet at some point during this cruise, one of my kids would say, "Dad, I have nothing to do. Can I watch Netflix?"
I guarantee you. So what cruise line are you going on?
Royal Caribbean to the Bahamas and Cozumel.
Oh, you're in luck. Which ship are you going on?
Let's see here. It's the
something of the seas.
Odyssey of the Seas. Yeah.
Odyssey. So it's funny that you should mention this because a few years ago when they first launched Anthem of the Seas, which is one of the first in this line of massive ships, I took my wife and our kid, who was about 15 or 16, on the cruise. And guess what he did? He watched Netflix the whole time. It's like, come on, there's bumper cars, there's rock climbing walls. No, I just want to. But the good news is Royal Caribbean has very fast internet. They have something, I think they call it Voom, which is the fastest internet. I've been on a lot of cruise ships, and usually cruise ship internet is unusable. You certainly wouldn't be able to watch Netflix on it. But Royal Caribbean has spent some money on upgrading their internet, and I would say Voom is as fast as you can get it, fast enough to actually watch streaming video. But you will be paying for it, as you know.
So it'll work even if we're in a different country, if we're in the Bahamas or in Mexico?
That's an interesting question. Yes, it should, and I'll explain why in a moment. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Sam coming up. So my experience was the VOOM base station is in Florida, in Royal Caribbean's headquarters. And it appeared that we were in Florida most of the time on the internet.
Oh, okay. So they must have some type of thing that allows you to...
Yeah, it's satellite. So they have, and the reason they get such fast internet, I'm told, is that they have a dedicated transponder just for the ship. So now remember, there's 5,000 people on the ship. If they all decided to use it at once, it's not going to be so fast. So he may find that in peak times it isn't usable for streaming. But many other times, when people are all at the pool or whatever, he should be able to do that. And I don't think he's going to have an issue. Now, I did use a travel router on that trip. I went out and got a device that I put on, because it's Wi-Fi. They don't offer you Ethernet in the cabin, but there's Wi-Fi. And I put the device, joined the Wi-Fi with the device, and then had all of the family join the device. And I did that for privacy and security, but that would also have an advantage because you could then say with the VPN that's in this router, oh no, I'm in New York City or whatever. I don't think you're going to have a problem. I don't think you're going to have a problem because I think you show up as Florida most of the time.
Sounds good. Yeah, that's just what I was wondering because, my wife and I probably won't be bothered with it, but my kids, they might, ask to do it occasionally, and I just wanted to know if that's possible.
Yeah, I would encourage it. You spend a lot of money going on this cruise. Get them out of the gosh darn cabin. Kids, there's a rock climbing. There's bumper cars. Get on out there.
I hope so. It's the first time they're going, so we'll see.
You chose a good ship for internet. It is as I found it was as fast as being at home. It was really remarkable.
Okay, that sounds great. So it looks like I picked the right one then.
Well, this is why we went on RCL. We went on Anthem because it would be fun for him. I don't care about a rock climbing wall, a zip line, and a bumper cars, but I thought he would. It turned out he just spent his whole time in the cabin watching YouTube. So, yeah, I think I'm pretty sure Netflix will be okay. If it didn't, you could use a VPN. The problem, of course, with a lot of VPNs is they slow you down so much you don't want to watch video. But I think, and they may block VPNs. Somebody's saying that sometimes on the ships they block VPNs. I can't remember. I think the reason I use the travel router is because they can't really tell it's a VPN. You're just using your router in your cabin. I know that worked, but I wouldn't worry about it. I think it's going to be fine. And boy, is it fast! It's just you got to pay for it.
Yeah, that's fine. Sounds good. I appreciate it, Leo.
Hey, have a great trip. You're going to love it.
Thank you.
If you get a chance,
can't wait.
Go swim with the dolphins. That was the thing I'll never forget. That was so much fun. I think we did the same cruise.
Will do.
Where are you leaving from? Florida or from?
Fort Lauderdale. Fort Lauderdale. Then we're going to first. We're going to the Bahamas and Cozumel, and then Port of Costa Maya. So it should be. Yeah,
you're gonna have so much fun.
Yeah, I might be in Mexico at the same time. You said you're going to Mexico, aren't
for Halloween, but we're inland quite a bit. We're in Oaxaca. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's way far.
Have a great. Cozumel is so great. You're gonna have a great time.
Thanks, Leo. I appreciate it.
Have fun. All right. Take care, Don. That sound tells me it's time for the car guy, Sam Abuelsamid, Guidehouse Insights principal researcher there, podcaster, wheelbearings.media. He's our automotive technology expert. Hi, Sam. Before we get to you, I want to just mention to Don, CJ in our chat room reminded me, and of course, this is what we always do. Netflix will let you download shows, not all of them, but some of them, onto your device. So before I fly or before I travel, I always download a whole series, something to watch. I don't know if you can download Phineas and Ferb, but that's certainly something to do. Then you don't have to worry about bandwidth at all. It's also a lot cheaper than trying to use the internet on the ship. Sam is an expert in automotive technology. He joins us every week to talk about driving. What's on your mind today, Sam?
Well, this week I had a chance to attend the Midwest Automotive Media Association rally in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, which was about a 400-mile drive each way. Took the Audi Q5 plug-in hybrid, which is a very nice vehicle for a long highway trip. It's a typical, German premium vehicle. It's very well suited to long, high-speed trips. I was going at a reasonable speed with the flow of traffic, but very, very well suited to that. Very comfortable and surprisingly fuel efficient. It'll do about 23 miles on a charge, 23 electric miles on a charge. But even when the battery's depleted, I still averaged about 29 miles per gallon over the course of the trip. So
that's nice.
Quite pleased with that.
Yeah.
But while I was there at this event, I had a chance to spend a little bit of time with the new Mercedes-Benz S-Class, which is their flagship big luxury sedan, not inexpensive. And it's a very large, very powerful car. But one of the coolest new features on this thing is an augmented reality heads-up display.
Wow.
Which is something that's going to be coming to a bunch of vehicles over the next couple of years.
Is this projected onto the windshield in front of you? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. So the information appears to be floating in front of you in the air, so you don't have to look down at the instrument cluster.
Nice.
And heads-up displays are not new, and we've had them for at least 20 years now on a variety of vehicles. But up until now, the HUD has always been, the information has always been in a single plane, and it's usually floating out somewhere over the middle to the leading edge of the hood. So it's floating out about 3-4 feet in front of you when you're sitting in the driver's seat. And that's, it's helpful, to have some of that information, to have your speed information and turn signals. And if you've got blind spot monitoring, a lot of times they'll show you those alerts right in front of you before you make lane changes, things like that. And even, most cars now that have navigation built in, they will usually show you the navigation prompts in the heads-up display. So, it's time to turn right. It'll show you a right arrow, things like that, and what the street name is. But it's still, traditionally, they've only been displayed in a single plane. So everything was right there. What these augmented reality displays are doing is they're displaying information in multiple planes. So that in the case of the Mercedes, one of the things that it shows is that those navigation prompts when it's time to make a turn, except instead of showing it floating, so it appears to be floating over the hood, it actually appears to be down the road over the intersection where you're going to make the turn. And as you get closer, it stays in place, and the rest of the information gets closer to it. So and the arrows get larger as you get closer and closer to the street where you have to turn. So it's a lot harder to miss your turns. You got that information before you get to the intersection, and you know what you have to do and where you have to do it, which is a really nice bit of extra information. And we're going to be getting a lot more information out of these augmented reality displays over the next few years. One of the things that I've seen a demonstration of previously is using the pedestrian detection, using the cameras on the car to detect pedestrians and then highlight pedestrians in the HUD, so that if someone's walking out into the street, you'll see them highlighted where they are.
So you see them, and then you see a kind of illumination around them, like a halo, or
yeah, or like more like typically it'd be more just like a bounding box to say, hey, here's a pedestrian to watch out for.
Square around them, just be aware of this.
Yeah, it'll just be a box around them. It might be flashing yellow or red, depending on how close you are, what your closing speed is, and you'll get various other alerts. But because it can display these multiple planes of information, it can appear to be highlighting exactly what it is it's highlighting. So it's not just saying, hey, there's a pedestrian out there, but it's actually doing it around where the pedestrian actually is. And because they're also using cameras, infrared cameras like the ones you have in your Mach-E that are for driver monitoring. It can see where your eyes are and where you're looking, and it can make adjustments to that based on where your eye position is, depending on how tall you are or short you are. So it can adjust some of those things in real time as well.
Wow, that sounds so cool. Yeah. Amazing. Do you think it makes for a safer experience, or is it just cool?
No, I think it really does. Especially when you're using navigation. I know a lot of the time when you use nav, you might get caught by surprise that hey, I have to make a turn, and you're looking around for where the street is that you're supposed to turn at. And if you've got to look down at the center screen or even at the instrument cluster, you're looking away from the road, and then all of a sudden, oh, there's where I have to turn. And so what this does is it gives you a little more situational awareness further in advance where you're going to, and so you're actually looking at the place where you're supposed to be turning as opposed to looking down at a screen. So I think it will help with safety.
Well, my chauffeur will certainly appreciate that. I wonder how many people who own these cars actually drive them. Or is
in the case of the S-Class, there's probably a fairly significant proportion that rely on others to do the driving.
Professional drivers are driving my machine.
Particularly the one I was driving, it had the executive package, so it has reclining rear seats, and it's got about 16 feet of legroom, it seems like. But
you want to keep yourself as distant from the chauffeur as you can, you understand, so that he is not in my space.
Yeah, but as I said, next spring the Cadillac Lyric, which we've talked about before, Cadillac's new electric crossover, it's going to have an AR HUD system like this, and there's a bunch of other vehicles that are coming to market in the next year or two that are going to be incorporating the same type of technology.
I really like this idea. I think it's, as long as it's not distracting, it's going to take some getting used to, I imagine, right?
Yeah, and as with all HUD systems, you can select how much information or what information you want displayed.
So you could turn it down, and
yeah. So you can reduce it to just speed or turn signals, things like that. But I think having this multi-plane display, so that if you are using nav, and the arrows disappear when you're going in a straight line. It's only as you approach, you get about 400 or 500 feet from the intersection, it will start to display those arrows, and they get larger as you get closer to the intersection. So okay, I'm there. It's time to turn.
Cool. Charles, my chauffeur, likes to wear sunglasses. Do they work with sunglasses? These eye tracking HUDs?
That's a good question. I actually didn't have my sunglasses on when I was trying this one, and I know HUDs are a problem with a lot of polarized sunglasses.
Yes, sure.
Some newer ones that work much better. I know BMW's latest HUD systems work much better with polarized sunglasses.
Oh, interesting.
You can also turn up the brightness on most of these as well.
Sam Abuelsamid, principal researcher at Guidehouse Insights. He's our car guy. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you, Leo.
These are very pretty vehicles. I don't know if I'll ever own a Mercedes, however. Very nice. Do you want to do the thing that you do where you stick around and you answer questions and that kind of thing?
I can certainly do that.
All right.
Only
if you wish.
Let's see. Yeah, no, I'm here. I got nowhere to go for the next couple hours anyway. So let's see. Hawk me, turn the glasses sideways. Yeah, that is one solution. I mean, that is something I occasionally do. I wear polarized sunglasses if I'm driving in a vehicle with a HUD. Sometimes all I have to do is tilt my head a little bit to one side or the other, and all of a sudden the HUD goes from being very faint to showing up nice and bright. So that's one thing that definitely helps. Let's see. Doug M asks, do the augmented reality HUDs work well driving in snow projected over the hood? So obviously I haven't had a chance to try this yet in snow. Hopefully I will this winter. But my past experience with heads-up displays is that, they generally do work fine in snow, because what it's doing is it's actually creating an optical illusion. It's actually projecting on the windshield and back into your eyes. And so it's not actually out in the snow. So you can still see it even when it's snowing out. And that actually could be potentially a real benefit as you get into the AR HUD technology, where one of the things that you can do, one of the things you can project onto the system is actually where the lanes are, where the edge of the road is, so that even if the road is snow covered and it's more difficult to see the edge of the road, you can actually project that in the AR HUD, because you can use other sensors to do your localization to figure out exactly where the vehicle is on the road, and then you project those virtual lane markers on a snow-covered road, and so you can know where you are, and it can give you alerts. It can turn red if you're getting too close to one edge or the other, that sort of thing. Let's see. Doug said, not obscured by snow, but can it project lane lines? So that is something that I think we will be seeing in the coming years. Let's see. Rever B. Mike asks, Lexus is just there to fool poor people into spending too much on a vehicle so they can appear rich. I wouldn't say that, Rever B. Lexus vehicles, they are mostly based on Toyota platforms. There are some exceptions like the LS and the LC, but they do have some pretty substantial differences, and they're not that cheap. So I mean, poor people are not going to be affording a Lexus in most cases. But you generally are getting quite a bit more for that extra money. There's features that they have on Lexus vehicles that aren't available on Toyotas, and they have different designs. So it's no different from any other premium brand, compared to mainstream brands. Let's see. Mercedes is a really nice place to cruise down the highway. BMW is a really nice place to carve mountain roads. That used to be the case. I think, to a large degree, BMW's kind of lost some of that sparkle. There are exceptions, like the M4 competition that I also had a chance to sample this week. But they're not quite as much fun to drive as they used to be. Although my podcast partner Roberto Baldwin did drive the new i4 M50 recently and said that it is fantastic. And that's their new electric sedan.
Cool.
Yeah.
Want to stick around to the top?
Sure.
Only if you want to. All right.
I'm here.
We'll see you in a minute. The show today brought to you by the podcast today brought to you by Worldwide Technology and NetApp. I love WWT. They're at the forefront of innovation, working with clients all over the world to introduce enterprise technology to transform their business. But I want to emphasize, I love it, that Worldwide Technology understands business. They're not just a company selling you technology for technology's sake. They know that no technology is going to improve your business unless it's consonant with your business goals, with your business strategies. So WWT, in effect, bridges the gap between your business strategies and your execution. They give you the tools to execute on what you want for your business. And that's exactly what you want with a technology company. At the heart of WWT, this amazing advanced technology center, the ATC, we went out and visited it last year. It was just unbelievable. It started in just one building with a bunch of racks. By now, it's expanded to multiple buildings, many racks, more than $500 million in OEM equipment from the biggest and the best OEMs in the world. It's a research and testing lab. Originally, WWT used their ATC for their own engineers. They would spin up proofs of concepts. They would learn about technologies, test technologies. Gradually, it became clear that it was also a huge benefit to customers. And that's why they have opened up the advanced technology for you. If you're a member of the ATC platform, you can run your own on-demand and schedulable labs, hundreds of them, like NetApp's Cloud Manager. Labs representing the newest advances in multi-cloud architecture and security and networking, primary and secondary storage, data analytics, AI, DevOps, and on and on. So your engineers, your team can get to know these products the same way that WWT's team does. I think this is really, I almost want to say generous of them. This is a really neat thing for you to be able to take advantage of this $500 million infrastructure they've built. With the Advanced Technology Center, you can test out products and solutions before you go to market. You can access technical articles, too. There's white papers, expert insights. They've got demonstration videos. They've got hands-on labs, as I mentioned. There's all sorts of tools. They're really there to help you stay up to date with the latest technology. And because it's virtual, members of the ATC platform can access WWT's amazing resources anywhere in the world, any time of the day or night. I love this. And while you're exploring the ATC platform, do also check out WWT's events and communities for more opportunities to learn about technology trends, to hear about the latest research and insights from their experts. We did a panel when we went out there in March of last year that was fantastic, and that was available on the ATC as well. Whatever your business needs, WWT can deliver scalable, tried and tested, tailored solutions. WWT brings strategy and execution together to make this new world happen. Learn more about WWT, the ATC, and gain access to all those free resources. Free, yes. WWT.com/twit. Just create a free account on the ATC platform. Worldwide technology. WWT.com/twit. Great people and a great resource for you and your business to have. Thank you, WWT. Now back to the show. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888. Ask Leo. Let's go to Hatfield, PA, and Jerry. Hey, Jerry, good to see you.
Well, same here, Leo. Leo, going back to one of your comments, maybe you don't want to see the pedestrians in a halo.
Maybe you just want to see them and not put them into the harp and the white robes. Yeah, that's a good point.
Okay, Leo, are you ready?
Yes.
Time for a possible...
That was terrible.
I know it was. That's me. Time for a possible PSA announcement.
All right, do a public service announcement.
About a week ago, I'm getting a email from my cell carrier and saying I have to upgrade my cell phone because we're putting LTE or via LTE in, and my phone's no longer capable.
Yeah, they're turning off the 3G towers is really what's happening.
So I said, my phone's only about a year and a half old. I said, nah. So I called my phone company, the people who make the phone, and they say, yo, your phone is very capable for that.
Yeah, I think that that's a mistake that they sent you that. Any phone that can do LTE, you're fine.
Right. So I call my cell provider, and they're pushing me to buy a phone from them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're pushing.
What an opportunity. It's kind of like when the local television stations went to digital, and you had to get a digital tuner. Remember this a few years ago? FCC moved their frequencies. All the cable companies said, hey, I see an opportunity here, and said, hey, they're going digital. We should go digital too. And they started telling people, oh, yeah, you got to go digital, just piggybacking on this out of greed, not out of any sensible reason. Yes, this is a good PSA. It is the case that starting all the major carriers, AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, and by the way, that means a lot of also companies that buy carriage from them are shutting down their 3G networks next year. So if you have, but you'd have to have a pretty old phone, certainly not a 2-year-old phone. That's not going to be a problem like yours. You'd have to have a pretty old phone that didn't use 3G. It's going to be a bigger problem for cars. A lot of telematics systems use 3G. It might be a problem for other devices that use 3G, but those towers are going off. LTE is, not 5G, but LTE is the kind of the standard these days. So that's something to be. But don't necessarily assume that they know what they're talking about when they send you that text message.
That's correct. To make a long story short, so I called my provider, and she's Indian. Hard to understand what she's saying. Amongst the chickens in the background.
You heard chickens?
Damn right.
That's hysterical. Okay, so she's working out of the house.
Right. Well, something.
Out of the backyard, out of the chicken coop. Okay.
So she's trying to tell me this and that, and I said no. So they sold me a new SIM card.
That's maybe the case, but by the way, selling you is really infuriating. But it was $10.
Big deal. $1.
$1. Okay.
So I got the SIM card, and and I put it in, click the phone, and now my phone, every time it boots up, the Bluetooth comes on by itself.
Well, I don't know if that's related.
Well, it didn't happen before.
So you don't use Bluetooth? You don't like Bluetooth?
Well, I do, but not when I don't need it when my phone boots up.
Yeah. That's probably more likely an operating system update that changed that than the SIM. The SIM wouldn't change that. Yeah.
I listen to radio tunes. As soon as I open up the app for radio tunes, it shuts itself down.
Well, again, probably not the SIM. Probably because you had not rebooted your phone lately. Maybe there was an update sitting there and it got installed and it changed some of the behaviors of the phone. It's an Android device?
Pardon?
Android?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, Android pushes out updates monthly, so it could very well have been just an update that screwed things up.
I just hope some of your listeners don't fall prey to the virus.
No, you don't need to buy a new phone. That's just a scam. Make sure your phone does LTE, and you can easily tell if you look on your phone. You can tell if it's on LTE. Sometimes it's at the top of the screen when you're on the connection. It should say LTE. If it says 3G, then yeah, you might have a problem down the road because those 3G networks are being phased out. Eventually, the same thing will happen to LTE as they move to 5G, but that's years off. So I think that, you'd have to have I think at least a 5 or 6 year old phone to not be able to use it.
Next time I have a PSA, I'll call back in.
Thank you, Jerry. Always a pleasure talking to you. It's a good reminder. This is going to happen. It will affect some devices. Sprint's 3G shuts down January 1st. AT&T's February 22nd. I'm not sure. Verizon is at the end of next year, December 31st. Remember, T-Mobile bought Sprint, so they're shutting those towers down early. And then T-Mobile has not yet said when they're going to shut down their own 2G and 3G towers. This is, this is kind of what happens. Technologies get phased out. They don't want to run those towers for, the handful of people that still have older phones. I do wonder about, actually, Sam's still here. What's going to happen, Sam, with telematics systems on older cars that are 3G based? Do you know?
It'll be the same. In most cases, it'll be the same thing that happened when we went from analog to 2G in the 2007, 2008 timeframe. They'll just stop working. The telematics systems will stop working. Some automakers are planning to offer upgrades from 3G to 4G, and some like Nissan and GM did that when they did the 2G to 3G transition. They offered upgrades, replacing the cellular modem for, I think it was usually about a $200 charge. Tesla also did this with the early Model S's that were originally on 2G, and they went to 3G and then 4G. They offered an upgrade. So it's going to depend a lot on which vehicles, which manufacturers. Some will offer upgrades, some won't.
Consult your dealer, I guess.
Yeah,
it's nice to just pull Sam in anytime I got a car question. Thank you, Sam. I appreciate it. Joe in Knoxville, Tennessee. Hello, Joe. You're next.
Yeah. Good day.
Good day.
I was listening to that earlier call about the 2G and 3G stuff.
Yeah.
I used to do security systems, and a lot of panels are use cellular communicators instead of using phone lines, and we had that same issue when 2G died, and now the 3G.
That's a really good point. My alarm system at home uses the cell system. I'll have to check and see if it's 3G. I didn't even think of that. Good point.
Yeah, it's we've had some customers. We tell customers to check their systems, at least monthly and better weekly. And when they switch to 2G or turn 2G off, there's a lot of customers who didn't check their systems for quite a while. And then when they had an issue...
That's not so good. You can't phone home. It's not much of a security system. Yeah.
So,
yikes.
My question is, I'm looking at designing a website.
Yeah.
I used to use a program called NetObjects Fusion.
Oh, yeah.
And I've had bought the latest version.
Boy, was that a good program. I used to use that, too.
I liked it.
Yeah.
It was a good program, easy to use. But I don't think they're doing any upgrades.
No, and the real problem with using these tools is sometimes they have I think Fusion did have proprietary extensions that won't work with other software. So web design software, and then there was Dreamweaver, remember? There have been a lot of solutions here And I used Fusion as well, loved it. But nowadays, things have changed dramatically. We don't use these web tools the same way we did. I got to take a break. Hang on, I'll talk to you off the air, make some recommendations. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. The problem with using web design tools, nowadays what professionals typically will do is you want to separate the content from the engine, and they will often use JavaScript frameworks like React and Angular. So it's a really different world we're in from these days where we could use Fusion or Dreamweaver to design a site. What kind of site is it?
Well, I registered as a domain years ago because my wife and I do a lot of craft stuff, and we're both retired as of this year, and wanted to get that back, get that site in operation. And
typically, what people do now is they'll go to a company like Squarespace or WordPress that have their own tools and their own custom stuff and just do it that way. And it's very similar. You were rolling your own from scratch, but those days are kind of gone. You know, so nowadays people will either have a web hosting company like WordPress or Squarespace or Google's Blogger, blogspot.com, and use their built-in tools. If you go to GoDaddy, they have a home site builder, that kind of thing. Or, there's nothing in between like Fusion, or they'll make the big jump to coding their own engines and stuff. Yeah. So I would suggest
for places I've seen though is they want you to host the site on their systems, and
that's kind of what happens. Yeah. Basically, you're buying hosting and the tool at the same time. That's what WordPress and Squarespace and Google do. If the store is important, you might look at BigCommerce or Shopify, one of the e-commerce sites, because they have web design tools as well. But yeah, they're going to end up hosting it. You were hosting it. You had this is so old school. This is how I used to do it too. You'd pay a web host, then you design the software, you'd FTP it, design the site, FTP it up to the web host, and they'd serve it. Yeah, it's changed quite a bit since those days.
Years ago, I actually worked for an internet service, a local internet service.
So you're sophisticated.
Which was back then it was dial-up.
Yeah. So you're sophisticated enough. You understand how this stuff works. Yeah. Yeah. I think really what people do is they bundle the hosting and the tool together because it's a tighter integration. And I think unless you want to really get into the weeds on this, which you can, I do. I run my own site. But it's pretty, you're spending a lot of technical time instead of just selling stuff time. Unless you really want to get into the weeds on it, I would suggest using Squarespace or WordPress.
I know a lot of stuff now senses, what computer and what browser. And
it's gotten much more complicated. It's gotten so much more complicated. And that's part of the reason this has changed. Exactly. The size, you no longer can assume the size of the screen. In the days of NetObjects Fusion, everybody was on a PC. They were on a desktop. Now you got to design for a screen that's 5 inches. So it's very much changed. That's called responsive design, and it requires really newer tools. So, I use a static site generator called Hugo, and I have my own server in the other room, and I FTP it, or actually SSH into it, and Hugo builds a site, and it's static site and all that stuff. But I don't do e-commerce and stuff. If you want to do e-commerce, I think you should go to a site that offers e-commerce. Okay. It'll simplify your life, and your shopping cart will be much more modern. Users will be much more comfortable with it. Look at Shopify, BigCommerce, Squarespace has e-commerce. They do the hosting, and they have tools that make it really easy to design a site.
Yeah. Oh, and I use Remote PC and love the software.
Nice. Oh, let me write that down. Joe in Knoxville says, love it.
Yeah, when I was working, I had a lot of customers that had web servers, or not web servers, but camera servers that I had to maintain occasionally, and it was just a heck of a lot easier to sit down at my desk at home and service it. And
it's great, isn't it? Yeah.
Yep.
Well, Joe, if you feel, you're very technical. If you feel like designing your own site, there's certainly, you certainly can do that, and there are tools that will help you to do that. But the days of Fusion, Front Page, Dreamweaver, those are long gone, I think. Yeah. Long gone. All right.
Have a good day.
You too. Thank you for your patience, Sam. Still 4 minutes left on your time. I appreciate you.
All right. So somebody in the chat earlier had commented about BMWs and their buck teeth grills. And yeah, there's been a lot of complaints from people about the way
they are ugly, aren't they?
Models look.
Yeah.
They're not particularly attractive. But for what it's worth, spy photos that have popped up in the last few months of the next generation BMW 2 Series show it with a smaller grille again. So maybe they might be considering going back again to
Lexus
something
did
a little
that too.
More reasonable in
it
size.
must have been that they thought bigger grille means luxury or something, because Mercedes has a giant grill.
I mean, that does seem to be the case for a lot of brands. They've gone to bigger and bigger grills, and that's something we've complained about incessantly on wheel bearings. It's kind of ridiculous.
One of the reasons I like electric is you don't need a grill, because you don't have.
That's what I was just going to say. With the shift to electrification, I think we'll see that trend reverse, because you don't need that grill for airflow. In fact, most of those massive grills are actually blocked off anyway. There's usually only a small space that's actually open for airflow.
So it's just style.
It's just style. Yeah.
Oh, the BMWs. I actually actively would not consider a BMW because of the grill. I think they're hideous.
I can't disagree with that right now. Rever B. Mike asked about the Ford Maverick hybrid truck. I also had a chance to spend a little time with that this week. I'll be getting one for a longer review in a few weeks' time. But basically, it's really good. It's fairly basic, but it's solid. It's not a luxury or premium vehicle by any stretch. I mean, you get in, the plastics are mostly hard, but for $20,000, that's it's competitive with what you get, and it's really well put together. It's really solid. A lot of utility in that thing, and if you need something that can give you truck-like attributes, be able to go and pick up those 20 bags of mulch from the big box store on the weekend. You can throw those in the back there. It's a crew cab, so you got room for 5 inside. So it's not too big. It's bigger than some of the 80s, 70s, and 80s really compact trucks, but it's a good size, and it's really fuel efficient. It gets 40 miles per gallon combined from the hybrid powertrain, and for $20,000 starting price, it's a really good solid choice if you're looking for some basic utility transportation. Somebody also asked about the Lexus GX. My thoughts on that. That's one of Lexus's bigger SUVs. It's based. The GX is the problem with the GX is kind of old. It's based on the Toyota 4Runner platform, which itself is old. The current generation GX debuted in 2009, so the tech inside is kind of dated. It looks kind of dated when you get into it. It's very capable off-road. It's comfortable, very very nice. But it feels kind of old compared to a lot of newer stuff that's out there. Let's see. Someone else is asking about comments on the Audi Q5. As I said, it's a really nice highway driver, great for long distance drives. And I will hand it back to Leo.
Thank you, my friend. It's great to see you. Have a wonderful week.
Great to see you too.
Stay warm in Ypsilanti, and we'll see you next time.
All right.
Take care. Bye-bye. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smartwatches, all the technology in our lives. 8888 Ask Leo is the phone number if you want to talk tech. 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. Website, techguylabs.com. The place to go. If you hear something and you don't want to write it down, you don't have to. We write it down for you. James DeRuvo, our professional scribe, is keeping track of everything. TechGuyLabs.com, and that's free. There's no sign up, no fee to visit. Coming up, Chris Marquardt, our photo guy, he got his iPhone 13. He has his review. Now, this is, I would say many consider the best camera phone ever. At least until Tuesday and Google's Pixel 6 comes out. That will be interesting to see. I think Google has finally decided not to rest on their laurels, as it were, but to sit up, take notice that other camera phone companies have really improved their offerings, Samsung and Apple chiefly, but also Huawei and Xiaomi and others. And so Google's apparently taking a big leap forward from the images we've seen of the new Pixel 6 phone. It's got a big old bump. They're just saying, you know what, we're going to embrace the camera bump. It's a bump that goes all the way across, and they're going to have 3 lenses. And, of course, Google's always done the best software for camera phones. Right? Remember, the phone is not a big enough device to have a really big lens like a professional camera does. The sensor on these, they're still very small. The lenses are mostly, cheap plastic. So how do they get good images? Well, they take what is basically not a great image from these inexpensive sensors and lenses and do a lot of computation on them to improve them. And because, a smartphone is a camera attached to an extremely powerful processor, they can do an awful lot. Google pioneered this. Apple's really a close second, Samsung too. So it'll be interesting to see what Google does. But for now, as of today, I think the iPhone 13 Pro Max is probably the best camera out there. We'll find out. Chris Marquardt has his review coming up in just a little bit. Meanwhile, we go back to the phones. George is next from Santa Monica, California. Hello, George. Leo Laporte, the tech.
Yeah, good afternoon, Leo.
Good afternoon.
I want to try to help my brother in Australia. He says he has about 5,000 photos on his Mac and his iPhone, and he needs an organizer. And do you think like a thumb drive would be the best for him to go by?
Well, there's software. I mean, this is for professionals especially, this is a perennial problem in photography because, think about a professional. They might go to a wedding, spend the day, and shoot 10,000 images. I mean, literally that many. I went on a 2-week photographic safari in Australia, in Tasmania, a few years ago. And I asked all the pros I was with, and there was great variation, but many of the pros had taken 6,000 or 7,000 photos in that week. Now that means you need some tools to organize that. That's a lot of stuff, and you need tools that let you. I would say in general, what you want is something that lets you quickly review these photos. It sounds like your brother wants to organize them by where they're from, who's in the pictures, what's going on. So take notes on those photos. Professionals also will want to pick the best and throw out the rest. So many of these systems have grading features where, I use Adobe Lightroom, and what I can do is hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the number keys as I'm looking at the photo. So I have my right hand is on the arrow keys, my left hand's on the number keys. I press the right arrow, new photo, grade it, new photo, grade it, new photo, grade it. And when you have 6,000 photos or 5,000 as your brother has, that's kind of handy. It really depends what he wants to do. Then the next step, of course, is you want to make sure you have a good backup of these images. Does he modify the images? Does he edit them in any way? Does he like to clean them up?
I don't think so. I think he just looks at them and he wants to have them, but I don't know if he has a program to do it like that.
He wants to organize them.
Organize them.
Yeah.
Get rid of the duplicate ones.
So duplicates is a separate matter because duplicates is a big issue because you don't want to accidentally delete 2 images that seem like they're the same, but they're not. And on the other hand, it's very easy to have a single image that you've maybe changed the color balance or, changed the shading a little bit, and it looks like a different image, but really you have 5 images that are exactly the same. There's a great program. You said he's on a Mac?
Yes.
There's a great program for the Mac called Gemini, which is it's my favorite photo deduping program. It's from MacPaw, MacPaw.
MacPaw.com.
And Gemini 2 is the latest version. You can try it for free, but eventually, if he's going to use it more than once, he'll want to buy it. It's $20. It's not the end of the year. Okay. But and it is a subscription, so it's $20 every year. But again, 1 year might be enough for him to get rid of all the dupes and then move on with his life. I really like it. It's not just for photos. It finds all kinds of duplicates, but it does a very good job with photos. And by which I mean it really is smart about getting rid of real duplicates, but not overdoing it, not underdoing it, and it's very configurable. I think it's a good choice for photo duplicates. So if that's the main thing he wants to do, that's a great start. Some people don't like the idea of Google having all their photos. I personally think the automatic artificial intelligence-based sorting that Google does with Google Photos is very handy. Then I don't have to spend a lot of time going through photos. I can just type in, I want all my photos of my visit to New York City, and it can recognize New York City, so it can organize that very well. I want all pictures of dogs. I want all the pictures of my son Henry. Without my doing anything, Google Photos does a very good job of that. Now, some people don't like the idea of putting their photos on Google. It doesn't bother me. I don't think there's a privacy issue, and it's a backup if you think about it. It's another place that you can store your photos, not locally, that they're safe, and that's saved my bacon more than a few times. So. And it's free. Well, it's free up to a certain point. They've just started to charge, but it's still fairly inexpensive. For 5,000 photos, I think it'd be free. I have about 80,000 photos on there, and I pay a little extra for storage.
I was thinking about sending him a thumb drive so he could just put all of his photos on the thumb drive as a partial backup.
That's certainly a good idea. Yeah, but Google Photos is pretty automatic. He puts a little piece of program on his Mac, and it'll automatically upload to Google. So that's a good way to just do backup. You can also back up online. Besides iDrive, our sponsor, which I should mention, you can also back up online to sites like Shutterstock that sell prints. Will let you store an infinite number of original quality photos there because they presume you're going to end up paying for it by buying prints and mugs and mouse pads and calendars and stuff.
Right.
So not Shutterstock. I'm sorry. That's not the one I meant. Shutterfly. Shutterstock sells stock photos. Shutterfly.com. And then if he is an Amazon Prime member, I don't know, maybe not in Australia, but Amazon Prime.
I don't think so.
Yeah, probably not. But in the U.S., if you're an Amazon Prime member, Amazon also offers unlimited original quality storage. So there's a lot of online places you can do for free or very inexpensively. But yeah, send him a drive. That's fine too. Just remember that thumb drives don't last forever. They'd fail. So he should not delete the originals, because if you just and sometimes people do this, they move it all to a thumb drive and they say, good, it's backed up. They delete the originals. One copy of anything is never a backup. I don't care what you label the drive. One copy is vulnerable. Drives fail. So
the biggest thumb drive you can get there is 256 gigabytes.
Oh,
nothing bigger.
What?
I was thinking of getting him a terabyte.
Yeah, sure. Actually, if you're thinking of that, get him something a little better than a thumb drive. Something like the Samsung T series. They're like thumb drives. They're USB, but you connect them to the computer. They have more storage. And I think that they're really a good choice for backup and that kind of thing. Let me see what the latest. I think it's T7 is the latest. I have a T2 or something. They're portable drives, but they're very fast and they're more reliable than a thumb drive. They're higher quality memory for that. So they make there's a T5, T6 probably. There's T7's the latest one. That if you send them a terabyte T7, that's really a fast USB 3.2 external drive. It's a really good choice. I also have an X5. They're a little more expensive. They're super portable. They're great for just carrying around as you travel. So good choice, yeah, but just make sure he doesn't think that's a real backup. Because, that's what happens. People copy something to an external drive, said, backed up, I'm all done, delete their originals, and yeah, they're done. When that drive dies, they're out of luck. You need to have... As my friend, the photographer Peter Krogh says, you need to have 3 copies of everything to be really safe. And one of those copies has to be in the cloud, off-site. He doesn't say in the cloud. He says off-site. So maybe you bring it to, you get 2 drives, bring one to work, that kind of thing. That's really the key. Thank you, George. You're a nice brother. Thank you for calling. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. We'll talk more, actually, when our photo guy stops by. I might ask him about that. Chris Marquardt will be here in about 15 minutes. Our show today brought to you by Stamps.com. Actually, if you ever get a letter from me, I will also be brought to you by Stamps.com. I love Stamps.com. Stamps.com, initially the point of Stamps.com was to let you print postage from your computer, your printer. You don't need a postage meter or anything like that. In fact, I have some great stamps with my picture on them. They're now worth 47 cents, so I have to go. But the good news, I went to Stamps.com and printed out a bunch of 4-cent stamps, so I'm set, when the postage rates change. Actually, Stamps.com is a great place to get stamps with discounts you can't get at the post office. Discounts on first-class postage. Stamps.com is wonderful. If you have a small business, time is money, right? Last thing you want to do is have to pack up everything, go to the post office, buy stamps or mail stuff. Stamps.com makes it easy. You just mail and ship right from your desk, right from your computer. They'll come pick it up. You'll save time. And as I said, you'll save money with Stamps.com. And by the way, it's not just the United States Postal Service. Now, and maybe you didn't know this is brand new, Stamps.com also supports UPS parcel service. In fact, they've got a great program, the new Rate Advisor tool, which will let you compare shipping rates on both services, compare timelines, find the option that's right for you. So this is just so great. Since 1998, Stamps.com has been an indispensable tool for nearly 1 million businesses by bringing the services of the United States Postal Service and now UPS right to your desk. So, and it looks so much more professional. Every once in a while, buy something on Etsy or eBay, and I'll get a misshapen box with somebody licked about 100 stamps. Not with Stamps.com, you print it, perfect postage every time. You even get a USB scale with our offer, so you know exactly how much postage to put on there or how much it prints. If you're printing on an envelope, it'll actually print directly on the envelope, your return address, autofill the recipient's address from your address book or from your Etsy or eBay or Amazon site. It'll put your logo on there. I mean, it just is professional. It's easy. And once your mail's ready, you schedule a pickup or you drop it off. No traffic, no lines. It's just easy. Stamps.com has been a partner of our show for almost a decade. And if you haven't tried them, what are you waiting for? You've certainly heard me talk about them. But look, just do this right now. Go to Stamps.com. Save time and money with Stamps.com and no risk. With my promo code TWiT, you're going to get a special offer that includes a 4-week trial. You get free postage coupons you can use over the next 10 months, a digital scale. There's no long-term commitment. There's no contract, so it's just a great way to try it. Go to Stamps.com. There's a microphone in the upper right-hand corner there. Click right there. Type in TWiT. You're good. Just got to do this thing. Stamps.com, promo code TWiT. Never go to the post office again unless you want to visit, which is fine. I happen to like our postal workers. They're great people, so I go say hi, but I don't wait in line. Stamps.com. Don't forget our promo code TWiT. Thank you, Stamps.com, for supporting the Tech Guy podcast. Now back to the show. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Chris Marquardt coming up with his review of the iPhone 13. Brenda on the line from Palm Springs, California. Hi, Brenda. Welcome to the show.
Hi.
Hey.
How are you?
Oh, I'm great. How are things going in your life?
Well, almost pretty good. But
except for your computer, right? Except for your computer. That's always bad, right?
It wasn't really a computer. It's more the files that I lost.
Oh, what'd you lose? What happened?
I have a Hotmail, and they told me that I can't receive any email until I delete some, and I can't send anything at all. So I was deleting files, and once you delete file, you can go to your storage and then empty the folder.
Yes.
And at one time it was going slow, so I clicked it again, except that it moved into the inbox and deleted the inbox.
Oh, that's nice.
And I pressed right-click, Control-Alt-Delete. I unplugged. It just deleted the files. I couldn't stop them. So I was wondering, is there any way I can get those files back after they were emptied?
Possibly. Possibly. So let me ask you how you did this. You're using Hotmail, which is Microsoft's email service. They've renamed Outlook.com, but you still go to Hotmail.com to get your mail? You do?
I do.
Okay. So you do that on the browser and log in, and there's your mail.
Yeah.
So they said you have too much mail, you have to delete some. How interesting. Okay. So when you, by the way, I just went to Outlook.com and they said, how likely are you to recommend Outlook.com on a scale of 1 to 5? Just so you know, Brenda, I just put 1. I don't recommend it.
Yeah,
so,
I changed over to Gmail.
Yeah, Gmail has a lot more storage. I'm surprised you ran out. So when you did this deletion of files, you did it on the website of Hotmail.com.
Correct.
So you went and you accidentally did this in your inbox. You selected all the files in your inbox, and you selected them all?
No, it's not. So what you do when you're in the storage area is you select a folder. So the deleted folder was above the inbox folder. So when I click on the deleted folder, it's called deleted folder. Deleted, and it shows a folder.
Yeah.
And it was going slow, and it said, "Are you sure you want to delete, empty this?" And I clicked OK.
And it turned out your inbox disappeared too, huh?
But I didn't think it was going yet, so I clicked OK again. But they already emptied the deleted, and they now went into the next folder, which is the inbox. And I clicked OK because I wasn't reading. It was my fault. I should have read, but I just thought it was too slow on the first one. Did
you go into the deleted items folder and see if anything is there?
There's nothing there because it's not a deleted. That's what everybody's saying. It's not deleted. It's empty.
But if you go into the deleted items folder, you'll see maybe nothing there because you emptied it, but you'll also see recover items deleted from this folder.
Exactly.
And there's nothing there either? And there's nothing there either? Right. Then you're out of luck.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So because what it says is, it says you have 5,000 mails, right? And now I have 100 mails.
Yeah, that's why they have that trash can. Same reason on Windows they have the recycle bin, or on Apple they have a trash can, so that you have this, time to regret your choices.
Exactly.
But once you actually empty the folder, let me just try this. I'm going to delete all the conversations in my folder. Now, I still see, after I do that, I see nothing in deleted, looks empty over here, but I also see a button that says recover items deleted from this folder, and all the things I just deleted are there. You're saying you don't see that.
Let me explain something. That's a deleted. So if you go into your setup and go to storage, because that's where all your files are in the stores, and you're not deleting them. You're saying, I'm emptying it. So once you deleted something in the trash, I understand that they're in the trash, but then you say, I'm taking it to the dumpster now. They are now going to be emptied. So the trash is empty.
As far as I know, once you've done that, there's no going back. Yeah.
Okay. I thought I'll try you.
I'm sorry, Brenda. That's a bummer.
It's okay.
Yeah. My suggestion, I'll be honest with you, in general, if email is important to you, these free email services really are not a good solution. It's much better. For instance, if right now you wanted to call Microsoft instead of me and say, can you help me? They would laugh because you're not paying for it. Maybe you'd get support someday down the road. Unless you're paying for Microsoft 365, maybe you are, then you might get some support. I think it's important, if you're going to rely on email to pay for a service, as I've said many times before, I don't know if you listen to the show all the time. I'm forced to, unfortunately. But if you listen to the show all the time, you'll notice almost every week somebody calls with an email problem. And it's almost universally with a free email service. I think if we care, we should start paying. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, photographers of all ages, it's time for Chris Marquardt, my personal photo sensei at sensei.photo, and our photo guy. Hi, Chris. Good to see you.
Hello. How are things?
So your life is kind of like mine. My wife got her iPhone 13 Pro Max, as did yours. You did order one, but you're not going to get it for, what, a month, you said?
I think they're fighting the chip shortage or something along those lines. I ordered it, and it'll take 3.5 weeks from now. So, but I've played with the iPhone 13 Pro. I have, of course, played with iOS 15, which everyone who has an iPhone now probably has on their iPhone, which has some new photo functions. So there's plenty to talk about.
Yeah. I like you. I tried to steal my wife's iPhone 13 for a little while, and she doesn't. She loves it. She's very happy with the images she's getting on there.
Same here. Yeah. So the new iPhones, again, there's the regular ones, the 13, the 13 mini, and then there's the Pro line, the 13 Pro and the 13 Pro Max, and they those two are kind of a bit separate in terms of their photo functionality. What all new iPhones are getting is a very interesting mode. It's called cinematic mode, which is when you see proper movies, like in air quotes, where the director uses focus to guide the attention of people. So you have something in the shot that is in focus, and then the attention goes to something else, and the focus moves there. It's called a rec focus. The new iPhone 13s can do that now. So they will do this automatically with some AI magic and guess where you want the focus, but you can also record and set that focus later, which is kind of interesting. So you can do a bit of cinema magic there, which I find interesting.
Yeah. The
new iPhones also.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say the iPhone's ascendancy might be challenged on Tuesday when Google ships its, or at least announces its Pixel 6. But for right now, I think most people agree the iPhone 13 Pro Max is the best camera on a phone you can get. Would you agree?
Yeah, and yes, absolutely. But I also fully agree that the new Pixel will probably give the iPhone a hard time. So I would not suggest hopping from one brand to the other just because the camera is slightly better, because the other side will catch up. So we're looking at a pretty decent camera setup right now. But hey, this will change. There will be other smartphones out there that are better in some areas.
That's kind of what we've been saying for the last couple of years, is the top phones from the biggest companies, Samsung, Apple, and Google, all have excellent cameras, and you'd be happy with any one of them. There are minor differences and so forth. What's interesting is Apple has introduced a macro mode on the iPhone 13.
That's the one that's the one that began to tip me over, because the Pro versions of the phones, they do macro now. So you get close to something and it switches to the wide angle lens, which can do macro, so you can get up to 2 centimeters to something. The other thing that pretty finally tipped me over is that it also comes with a 3x telephoto lens. So you have a more range in the phone, and in general, the smartphones they are really starting to take away business from the bigger proper cameras like the DSLRs and the mirrorless cameras, because now it means that at least some photographers won't have to carry an extra camera with a macro lens to take photos, because it's built into the phone. So that is fairly interesting.
Well, that is one of the most interesting questions as these phones get better and better and better, is at what point do you stop carrying your expensive camera system and start just carrying a phone? I'm going to Mexico for the Day of the Dead, Oaxaca, which is the center of the events and the festivities in Mexico. And I think this is going to be a great camera opportunity. But both Lisa and I are saying, now, what cameras are we going to bring? Lisa, I think, is leaning towards just bringing the iPhone.
Leaning towards just the iPhone. Yeah, totally. I fully get it. I noticed this with myself, that more and more I will leave the bigger camera at home. I absolutely use it professionally and in some settings where the smartphones just can't do it as good as a proper camera, where we're talking about sports photography, really long telephoto stuff, wildlife photography. That's very specialized kind of photography that has specialized needs in terms of hardware that the phones can't do. But I mean, look at the night mode in those phones.
There's no
macro
question.
Now,
if you're shooting in low light, which is anywhere indoors, and would include any cathedrals and museums, the computational photography that these phones are doing is remarkable. You can practically shoot in darkness.
The tricks are amazing because with a mirrorless camera with a bigger sensor, you would take a longer exposure. What these phones do is they take a whole handful and more of exposures and combine them in intelligent ways to come up with something that is relatively close to what you get with a bigger sensor, with a bigger camera. So they have so many tricks up their sleeves, and they are adding new stuff left and right. So we are gonna it's tough competition for the bigger cameras for sure.
So it's going to be interesting because I don't want to bring, traditionally I would bring a body or maybe even two bodies and 4 or 5 lenses, and I have a big bag that I carry around, and I don't want to do that. I know that because it's Day of the Dead, most of the photography I'll be doing will be like, as we call it, street photography. It'll be out and about, taking pictures of people dressed interestingly and things like that. Festivities.
Honestly, any phone from the last 3 years will probably do the job. You won't hurt your back. You will be you might not get the really super long telephoto shot, but then you might not have gotten it anyway because you wouldn't have taken the lens out of the bag and put it on the camera and lost the shot because it took you too long to change your setup. So
you mentioned 3x. What is that in telephoto terms? I mean, the part of the problem with a camera phone is because the sensors are small and you can't you can't compare it to 35 millimeter effective zooms or focal length. So can you convert
the telephoto on the iPhone 13 Pro is equivalent to 77 millimeters, almost 80 millimeters, which is not a super long. It's not 200 millimeters. Yeah. It's a bit telephoto. It's amazing for portraits and these kind of things. And you can try to add a bit of digital zoom onto it. It might reduce your quality a little bit, but you will get most of the shots this way.
We often talk about zooming on foot, moving in and out instead of using a zoom lens. Maybe that's what I'll have to do is just get a little bit closer and get the shot instead of standing 20 feet away.
Get a pair of good shoes. Yeah.
And get a pair of good shoes. Sneaker zoom. So yeah, I think I'm gonna bring kind of a compromise, which is a fixed lens point and shoot. In addition to my iPhone 12. She's got the good iPhone 13.
Don't try to carry too many cameras because that will take away from your enjoyment.
I want to enjoy the events, right?
That event.
And as you have said many times, it ain't the camera, it's the photographer. And the camera you have is always going to trump the camera that you left back at home. So
absolutely.
But do bring a camera, I think, right? We all agree on that. What's our assignment? It's happy, right?
It is happy. One more week, and then we'll look at some of the photos.
Take a picture illustrating the idea happy, upload it to the Tech Guy group on Flickr.com, tag it TG Happy. We'll review next week. Thank you, Chris Marquardt.
Thank you.
I would so love to not bring anything, and at the same time, I'm just nervous that I'm going to get there and I'm going to say, gosh darn it, why don't I have a good camera?
See, the last time I was doing street photography, I did it with a smartphone, with an iPhone 11, just plain old standard 11, with the Argentum app.
Yeah.
Which is is this Ansel Adams filter, which gives you really contrasty, gritty black and white photos, very street photography worthy photos. And the thing with a smartphone is you get close, no one will.
That's the other side of it.
No one will be bothered. People ignore you.
They just think you're a tourist.
If you point a big camera and a big lens at them, then that changes the dynamics.
So what I did on my iPhone 12 is I replaced the regular camera app. I buried it with Halide. So when I hit my camera button, I'm going to at least be using something that gives me raw capabilities. I can turn off autofocus. I have a lot more capability in here.
Yep, Halide is good. Halide is great.
Yeah, I really like it.
If you save the RAWs, then that will really give you all the options. If you like.
So I think that might be the compromise. Oh man, what I'm probably going to do is bring my Leica Q2. So then I'll have.
Totally do that. That doesn't weigh a lot. You can have that with
light.
you.
You look like a grandpa with his Instamatic.
It's a tourist
pictures.
camera. It looks like a tourist camera. It doesn't really really get too much attention.
And it's f1.7 28 millimeters, so it's a nice fixed Leica lens.
Try to get in people's faces. Try to get close when you do street photography. Don't try the sniper shot from far away with the telephoto lens. The closer you get, the more intense those pictures will be. It takes a bit of guts to do it, but if you do this with a smartphone, then people will just shrug you off.
The Day of the Dead festivals would be a good time to do that. I mean, I know they're solemn, but I think people.
There's also lots of colors, so the black and white filter might be a bit too harsh. Yeah. So,
and one of the nice things about the Leica, you can put the JPEG into black and white, but you're still taking raw DNGs in color. So you can go home and say, oh, I want the color on this one. So.
And if you do black and white and with street photography, try to use a preset that does strong contrast.
Yes,
because that really is fun to look at. Does
Argentum leave a color image as well, or does it only take the black?
You can set it up to save both.
Yeah,
it'll save the JPEG or the HEIC, HEIC.
Yeah. I have it on here. It's funny. I think you recommended it before. Yeah, nice.
It has become my go-to for
it's really great
quick
looking.
off the cuff, and the contrasts are.
It makes everything look
amazing
good.
Contrast.
I really like that. Yeah, everything looks better in black and white, doesn't it? All right, Chris. Thank you, sir. I appreciate your taking time to.
I'll have to bail out next week because there's a family thing that goes from Thursday to Monday. So I will be
2 weeks for the review.
I won't be around.
Perfect.
2 weeks for the review, and then I'm back on the 31st.
We'll see you then.
On Halloween. Okay.
I will not be here. Actually, you will not be back on the 31st. That's when I'm in Mexico, so it's a rerun. So your next show, wow, we're getting close, aren't we? Oh my God, is November 7th. That's right.
All right.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah, no show on the 31st. You got a couple of weeks off. Thanks, my friend.
Do you want me to pre-record something with you?
No, because we're just doing. I'm making Laura do all the work.
All right.
She's taking bits. Just take an old Marquardt. Oldie but goodie.
You know where to find me. I'm here. I'm here.
Thanks,
all
Chris. Right. See you later. Bye-bye.
See you then.
I'm just being lazy, Laura. I don't want to do any extra work. I just want to go on vacation. Thank you. I appreciate it. Leo Laporte, the jazzy tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. If you want to talk high tech. Yeah, as Chris said, I mean, the iPhone 13, amazing. Does amazing stuff. But don't be sold, I think, in my opinion, don't be oversold by the features Apple trumpets, like the cinematic video, which I think, just like portrait mode, it's done in software. It's not done by the lens. Looks a little, it's not perfect. It's fun. I think to me, the camera phone really is best if what you want is to post it almost immediately on Facebook or Instagram or, send it to friends because you're connected. You got a computer and the camera, and it's all one, and it's a very fast workflow, very easy to do. But I wouldn't say I certainly don't feel like I'm missing out using last year's iPhone. Let's put it that way. Or would be missing out using any good phone from the last couple of years. Their cameras are so good nowadays. Richard on the line from West LA. Hello, Richard.
Hi, Leo. Good to talk again.
Nice to talk to you. What's up?
When I use Roku and use one of the apps, I can't remember which, but I think there are a couple, and I play a video, sometimes I get a real buzz out of my speakers.
The whole time or just an initial buzz?
All the time.
Ooh.
What I do is I turn off that, and I turn on the Roku's volume, and the sound is not tinny, it's not great, but at least it's audible. Any thoughts?
So tell me again what you do to get it audible. You turn. So the Roku is inside the TV, or is it a standalone Roku?
Standalone.
Okay.
The new one. I just got the 4G.
Yeah, the Ultra, 4K Ultra.
And they worked on the other one, by the way, the older one. Same problem.
Oh, you had the same problem.
Exactly.
And which apps is this happening to?
I'm afraid you'd ask. I think it was YouTube.
Okay.
And one of the films.
And then what do you? So you're watching the YouTube. If it's buzzy, then what do you do to get the buzz to go away?
I turn down the volume on my AV receiver to 0, and then I press the button on the Roku app that has a volume control, and I bring that up. The sound isn't great, but it's clear. I hear nothing, no buzz.
That's interesting. So you're I don't know what's going on here. So your Roku is connected via an HDMI cable to an AV receiver, which is connected to the TV. The speakers are powered by the AV receiver, so you're not listening to the TV speakers, right?
Right.
Right. You're able to turn your AV receiver down, so it's not doing much amplification, and then turn the Roku volume upward on the remote?
Yes.
And that raises the volume, and it's audible, but there's no buzz. So the buzz is apparently coming from the AV receiver. I think what's going on here is a mismatch in codecs. We had this question yesterday as well in a similar fashion. Nowadays, it's not as simple as just the app plays its audio into the AV receiver, which puts it out of the speakers. As you probably have already noticed, there's surround sound, there's Dolby Atmos, there's other encoding techniques, there's stereo, there's PCM. And I'm not sure, this doesn't happen on all Roku apps, just a handful of them, right?
Not even on all of the apps. When I play certain films or videos.
Oh. Okay. That's okay. So that does confirm what I'm saying. So you're watching a movie, let's say. Most movies are encoded in a way that you're not having any trouble with. The AV receiver understands it, is playing it back just fine. But every once in a while, you start playing a movie, and I'm almost going to guarantee you it's a Dolby Vision HDR movie. And the Dolby Vision encoding, which is Dolby Atmos, is coming through the AV receiver, and the AV receiver is not reproducing it properly, would be my guess. How old is the AV receiver?
Probably 3 years old. It's an Onkyo.
Yeah, it's brand new. It shouldn't have any trouble with Dolby Atmos. Maybe, so it's possible it's an analog problem then. So that's the first thing, is just make sure that the output from the Roku in the sound settings is the same as the AV receiver is expecting. You'll see it on the front of the Onkyo. It'll say, I'm getting Dolby Atmos or whatever. If that matches, then that's not the problem. I guess it could be an analog. The problem is this is a digital connection. You're connected via HDMI. That's all digital. There's no analog lines. So there's no interference coming in. It could be interference, I guess, from the speakers. Maybe there's interference created in the back of the... So the AV receiver takes a digital signal, decodes it, and then sends it out the speaker wires from its back. By then it's analog. And at that point, the speaker wire could be generating some buzz. I don't know if that makes sense given what you've reported. Is it a hum? What does it sound like?
It's not. I said a buzz. It's not quite a buzz. I wish I could reproduce it with my voice, but I can't. That's not.
But it's stuttering.
No, it's pretty constant, and it's
constant.
Annoying. Which is why I turned it down entirely.
Yeah.
Worse than that.
Worse than that. Is it fairly low frequency? Is it bzzz?
Let me think for a second. Bzzz. Medium, I would say.
Medium. Boy, I don't know.
It's not high. It's not really what you're trying to do.
So the things, it could be analog or it could be digital. If it's analog, there really is only one place it could be happening, which is at the speaker wires. I don't know why when you amplify it from the Roku as opposed to the AV receiver be better, but I guess that could be. So make sure you're using good quality shielded speaker wires. You might want to look in the back of your AV receiver. I know we never go back there because there's so many wires coming out of the back of it. You don't want to disturb the ecosystem, but you might look back there, make sure everything is clean and isn't touching anything else and is coming out well. And the connection, maybe even check the connection to make sure it's good. So that's if it's analog. It's most of the time these days it's not analog. It's some sort of digital issue. And sometimes if you can tell me what the sound sounds like, I can tell you. If it's a 60 hertz hum, then it's analog. If it's a chatter or, it could be digital. If I hear it, I can definitely distinguish between analog problems with the audio and digital. But
definitely not a hum.
It's not a hum. It's more, okay. It's more, yeah, that sounds digital. That would be typical of digital. I would say try another cable.
Okay.
Just in case maybe there's something going on with that cable. It's really the thing that baffles me is that when you amplify it from the Roku, it's fine.
Now that's coming through the television.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you're saying you turn it up on the Roku remote.
Right.
The Roku is connected only to the AV receiver, nothing else, right?
Exactly.
Oh, you're saying you turn up the TV audio and it's fine.
Well, I don't know what I'm turning up. All I'm doing is pressing the volume control on the Roku remote. And when I press that and bring it up to a reasonable level, I've got a clear, although a little tinny sound. So I don't know. I assume it's coming through the TV. But
maybe that's what's happening. I know it. I do know exactly what's happening now that I think about it. Your Roku... it's kind of a universal remote. That volume control is not the volume, because Roku doesn't have any amplification itself. That volume control is remotely controlling your TV, and I bet it's turning up your TV speakers. That's why it sounds a little tinny. And those TV speakers are reproducing the audio accurately. The AV receiver is the problem here. So I'm really curious. It sounds like, especially if it's more of a chattery sound than a buzz or a hum, if it's more buzzy than hummy, then it might be digital. I would look at the encoding. Look at the settings in your Roku for what audio you're putting out. Look at the settings for the AV receiver. Make sure the AV, it could just be a handshake issue that the Roku's sending out one form of signal, say Dolby Atmos, and the receiver for some reason isn't handshaking properly and saying, oh, you were sending me stereo. And when it plays it, it's there's definitely not, that's a buzz. So, and that could be because handshaking issues could be because of a bad cable. That's why I'm suggesting swapping out the cable. Make sure the cable connection is good. Look in your manual on your AV receiver and check how the AV receiver can decode audio. All of this stuff, it's complicated, and I'm not sure exactly what's going on. D. Claire says the volume controls on his Roku remote is for the headphones. You don't have headphones plugged into your remote, do you?
No.
And you don't...
I don't have... By the way, one other thing to tell you that I haven't mentioned. When I press the volume up on the Roku, I see a counter at the bottom of the TV.
Yeah, you're turning up the TV. That confirms it.
Okay.
So the Roku remote is connected to is programmed to turn up your TV volume. And now you're hearing it through the TV speakers, which of course don't sound as good as your surround sound speakers. Something going on. We've narrowed it down. It is definitely the AV receiver. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Pull all the tubes out of the AV receiver and take them to the drugstore to test them, says Cosmic Ray. I think Cosmic Ray. No, I'm kidding. I have no idea. That's really interesting. I just don't know. But I would say look at the settings on the Roku and look at the settings on the receiver to see what kind of sound. Oh, he hung up. He's unhappy. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk about computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smart watches, all that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo is the phone number. 888-827-5536. Good number to call if you have a question, but also I would welcome any solutions to any of the problems. The last call, we could not figure out what was wrong. This is the second call in a row, second show in a row that I've gotten a call about issues connecting a Roku box or external internet television box to a TV or to a home theater receiver and having audio issues. So it's an epidemic. If you have a solution, I'd love to know. 8888 Ask Leo. You can also go to the website. That's free. That's available to all, techguylabs.com. You can go right to this show, episode 1838. Very good year. Go to that show. And then each show is divided up into hours, 1, 2, and 3, and each hour into segments 1, 2, 3, 4. That call, for instance, was segment 4, hour 2 of episode 1838. It's easier than it sounds. If you just go to the website, you can leave a comment if you've got a solution. If something like that's happened to you, I would appreciate that. That makes it valuable for everybody. And again, no charge, no sign up. TechGuyLabs.com. William's next, Santa Clarita, California. Hello, William.
Hi, Leo. Thank you for taking my call.
Thanks for calling.
Sure. Well, I've got a strange problem here. I've got two things going on with my phone, and I don't necessarily think they have anything to do with each other. But the first and most important is that I've got a Samsung phone, and I have an Apple computer. Now, one of the guys I work for, he'll text me and ask me if I'm available on a certain date. So he did so back in July, and I think that one about a month later, I never got the text on my phone, but about a month later, maybe 2 months later, I'm looking at my computer, and I've got this little icon at the bottom that says messages. It's green with a balloon on it.
Yeah.
So I click that, and I get his text on my messages.
Oh, interesting.
And so
Did you at any time have an iPhone?
No.
Never had an iPhone.
I have an iPhone, and I've never connected these two in any way.
Yeah, no, it's not. And you never did get it on the Samsung, right? You only got it on your Mac.
Right.
So Apple has its own Messages app, which is really intended for its iPhones and has never been ported to Samsung or any other Android device. And it sounds like somehow he sent that message to Messages, and the only thing you could receive it on is on the Mac. He did not send a text message, an SMS. It's as if you used
a text message.
He thinks he did. I'll tell you what. I think I know what happened, but it's as if you used text messaging on your Samsung and WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger for other messaging, and he sent it to, in effect, to the WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger, not to your phone. The only way that he could have done that is by using your email address, not your phone number.
Well, I don't think that happened because
it's what happened. I promise you.
Just him.
No.
Well, my sister sent me a text one time. The same thing happened. I just got a text, or yesterday, somebody was texting me something, and they showed up on this.
Yeah.
And what's really strange is I got another one by the first guy from October 5th, but it just showed up like yesterday.
That I don't know, but so in their contact list they have your name, they have your phone number, but they may also have an email address, which happens to also be your Apple ID. If by accident, when they start to send that message, then they click your name. If by accident, instead of sending it to the phone number, which is your Samsung, they send it to your Apple ID, the only place that message will show up is in Messages on your Mac.
But shouldn't that go to my email instead?
No, because they sent it from a messaging platform. So, believe me, I understand the confusion. It's very confusing. It comes from we've hybridized these technologies. In the early days of text messaging on a phone, you were using something called SMS, Simple Message System. It could only send texts, by the way, no images, nothing else. And it used your phone number. In fact, it didn't even use data. It basically piggybacked on the cell company's voice system. So it wasn't even data. But it didn't take very long for people to say, yeah, we can do better because we want to see pictures, we want to have more fun with our messages, etc. And there were programs already like AOL's Instant Messenger, AIM, that allowed you to do that, but that used data, used the internet to send those messages, not the phone system to send the messages. Unfortunately, we've gotten into a hybridized system now. And this is completely Apple's fault, by the way. Apple's messages will prefer data. It'll act more like Instant Messenger unless there's no other path, and then it will use SMS, and that's when you turn into a blue bubble. That's the signal that you've used SMS. If it's a green bubble, it's from an iPhone over data or from a Mac over data. And you can use messages to send people messages on their iPhone. I don't know if you've ever done that on your Mac, but you could. If you have a friend with an iPhone and you have their iPhone phone number in your contact list and it's indicated to be an iPhone, then which Apple keeps track of behind the scenes, then it will send it to his messages. So the only possible explanation for this is that they're using your Apple ID. That's the only way you'd get it. Unless it's possible if you've attached your phone number to your Apple account. No, I don't think so. I think they've accidentally, because they have that Apple ID in their contact list, I'm sure, because that's your email. But when you send it to the Apple ID in a text messaging system, Samsung's trying to be modern. Samsung says, oh, it's data. He must have an iPhone. Let's send it to his messages. But, of course, you don't have an iPhone, so you're getting in messages. Now, this doesn't explain the delay. That's something else. I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the second thing I had going on is, I put my own phone number in my contacts so that I can basically as a notepad, so I can send myself a message and get it, and I can be reminded of something.
Okay.
And I just named it me. So when I see me on my contact list, I know it's a message from me.
Oh, clever.
Well, I got these messages, and sometimes it was 4 and 5 in a row that just said Null, Null. And I'm like, where are these coming from? Supposedly it's coming from my own phone number, but I didn't send it.
Oh, Lord. You can see that this system is really not working, is it?
Yeah, I've had that happen 10 or 15 times now.
I have never seen a null message. Null means nothing. Null means empty. In other words, the signaling system said there's a message, but the actual contents of the message was empty. So,
well, the message is actually null, Null.
Yeah, no, that's the phone rendering a message that is empty. Null is the programmer's term for nothing.
Okay.
So the program said, well, I see no message here, and printed null. It's a bug. It's definitely a bug. You should never see the word null anywhere. If you see null, you're seeing basically a program's error message. I mean, it's not an error message. The program is quite accurately saying, ain't nothing here. That's what it's telling you. But a properly written program would never do that, right? So I'm not sure what's going on. It may well be. So you said you keep it in your notes, and then how do you send it? You use the share sheet, or how do you do that? How do you share it to your phone number as me?
I just put my own contact in there.
In your messages, in your Apple messages?
When I send a text, on my Samsung phone.
On your Samsung phone.
So I put my contact in there, and then it comes up. I just typed in me.
Okay. So something's going on with the Samsung messaging app. It's maybe it's testing. I don't know what it's doing, but for some reason it's trying to contact. You're trying to contact yourself.
And I'm wondering too, now that I just thought of it, is that I'll have to go back and check the dates of that, but it might correspond to this other thing where the message came from my computer instead of my phone.
Oh, now we have an interesting theory check, because maybe that's what's happening. Maybe that's exactly what's happening, that Samsung, I don't know, I'll have to check. Which Samsung messaging app do you use? Do you use the one that came with the Samsung?
Yes.
This is also confusing because there are at least 2 apps on your Samsung phone called Messages. One is Android Messages, one is Samsung Messages. if you can remember which one you're using. Oh, and by the way, to make it even more confusing, the icons are almost identical. But if you're using Samsung's messages, it might be Samsung in a kind of weird form of Apple envy is trying to do something so-called smart by saying, oh, I see there's a phone number and an email. So I will deliver one to the email address, which comes in as a messages message, and then I will try to deliver it to the phone number as well. It's always going to show up as me because it just matches it to whatever you have in the contact list. So that's why it says me. Right. It could well be sent by somebody else. But a null message means...
it's sent from my phone.
Oh,
it's from my phone number.
It's from your phone to your phone.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, so it's also possible, and I think this is maybe what's happening, is that application is just sending out, little pings every once in a while. That's essentially a ping.
Right.
Anybody there?
Right.
Because there's no message. It's just a hello. So, yeah, there's something maybe interesting going on with this. And by the way, I wouldn't be surprised. I would blame Apple initially because Apple really doesn't want anybody to live in a world outside of Apple. They don't want you to have a Samsung phone. You should, I don't know why you would ever not want to have an iPhone, thinks Apple. So all of this would just go away if you just have an iPhone, right? So that's part of the problem. But I think part of the problem is also that Samsung has a little Apple envy. And so they're trying to do more with their messaging app and it's obviously not working. Not working very well. They mixed it up. Yeah, they mixed it up somehow. Yeah. I'll do some research. I have a Samsung phone, number of Samsung phones as well as iPhones. I'll try messaging in various ways and see if I can duplicate this. I bet I can. Tell them to be very sure when they text you that they text your phone number, not your Apple ID.
Right. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Well, I'll call the person back from yesterday and make sure that what he did. But,
clear as mud, isn't it?
The first guy, he tells me, no, I did your phone number. So
yeah, it's possible that Samsung is doing something with the phone number and saying, oh, maybe he meant this to be a data message. Well, I know his email address. Let me forward it on. I don't know. I mean, that's completely possible. Who knows? Samsung does strange things. A lot of it is Apple envy. Our show today brought to you by our podcast brought to you by Userway. This is a solution for a problem I know a lot of people have. We have a requirement. If you have a website, you have a requirement to make your website accessible. It's a public entity. And even the U.S. Supreme Court has ruled that every website has to be accessible as defined by the American for Disabilities Act, the ADA. Your site has to be ADA compliant. When I learned this, I was terrified. I thought, oh, no, that's going to be a lot of work. I'm supportive. I want to do it. I don't want to leave people out of my site. I want everybody to be able to access it. But what's it going to cost me? How am I going to do this? Then I found out about Userway, and I said, oh, it's not bad at all. Userway is very affordable. Userway really is kind of amazing. Their vision, and I really dig this, I connect with it, is to make every website, without exception, accessible. It's the right thing to do. It's also the law. Userway has solved this problem with a very clever AI-powered solution that tirelessly enforces the hundreds of WCAG guidelines. WCAG is the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. It's actually, when I talked to the Userway folks, it was really interesting to learn. So when you go to a website, your browser displays the primary layer, which is, if you're sighted, the one you see. But if you're using a screen reader or you're disabled otherwise, there is a second layer invisible to others called the accessibility layer. And that layer contains all the instructions that a screen reader or some other tool needs. Those Braille screens, they use the accessibility layer. So when you design a website, you don't normally design an accessibility layer. It's derived by the browser. But it should have stuff specific for accessibility. For instance, the ADA requires alt tags. So every image should have a textual tag describing that image. Now, our site has hundreds of images. You may say, all right, I'm going to go through these one by one. And that's time-consuming, expensive, engineering time, and so forth. But the way Userway's AI works is that's why they use AI. Golden Gate Bridge, it says, this is a picture of the Golden Gate Bridge. You can enhance it if you want. You could say at sunset if you want. But the basic alt tag is there. They also, and this is one line of JavaScript. They can do more than an entire team of developers. They also, for instance, and this is a big problem. I hear about this all the time from our unsighted listeners. Nav menus can be very complex. They're bad for everybody, frankly. UserWay, it's a real Achilles heel. UserWay can fix this completely. Make sure that all the pop-ups are accessible, fixes vague link violations, fixes broken links. Make sure your website uses accessible colors. Again, in the accessibility layer, you still have your Pantone color, but they adjust the hue and luminance to make sure it's accessible for everybody. And you'll get a detailed report of all the violations that were fixed on your website. Who uses UserWay? Everybody. 1 million websites use UserWay, including companies like Coca-Cola. Disney uses UserWay. FedEx uses UserWay. eBay uses UserWay. 1 million websites. And now those best-in-class enterprise tools that they use are available to small and medium businesses at a price even I can afford. I just think this is great. Operating a compliant, accessible website is not just the right thing to do. It makes business sense. There's 60 million users who are locked out of your site if you're not accessible. And as you can tell, if these big companies use UserWay, if you need to scale as your site gets big, UserWay will scale along with you. Just ask the voice of Siri what she thinks of UserWay.
Hi, I'm Susan Bennett, the original voice of Siri. You won't hear me say something like this too often. I'm sorry, I don't understand what you're looking for. But every day, that's what the internet is like for millions of people with disabilities. UserWay fixes all of that with just one line of code.
It's so cool. So cool. It's platform agnostic. You can use WordPress, Shopify, Wix. You just add UserWay and it's done. AEM, Sitecore, SharePoint, any site. One line of JavaScript code, boom, your site is accessible. It seems like magic, doesn't it? It kind of is. UserWay integrates seamlessly with any tool you're using, and it helps your business meet its compliance goals and improve experience for 60 million users. I love UserWay. I love this mission of this company, and I honestly think if you're like me and you were faced with this and were terrified about the cost, you check it out. Check it out. In fact, we can make it even more affordable when you go to userway.org/twit. You'll save 30%. They've even got a free scanning tool on the website to see if your website's ADA compliant. UserWay can make any website fully accessible and ADA compliant. So that with UserWay, everyone who visits your site can browse seamlessly, customize it to fit their needs. It's also a perfect way to showcase your brand's commitment to millions of people with disabilities. That's so important. Go to userway.org/twit. Get 30% off UserWay's AI-powered accessibility solution. UserWay, making the internet accessible for everyone. Visit userway.org/twit today. UserWay. Thank you, UserWay, for supporting the podcast. And now, back to the show. My onions is green, my eyes are brown, and my brain is mush. We've had 2 questions in a row that have baffled me, but that's what happens when you're the tech guy. If you can help, of course, techguylabs.com, the website. Leave your comments or call 8888-ASK. Leo, Faith is on the line from Anaheim. I need a little Faith right now. Hi, Faith.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
First-time caller. Listen to you every Sunday.
Welcome.
And I'll try to make this quick and give you a little background. About 4 years ago, the VA here in California gave my husband this incredible HP Pavilion computer.
Nice.
Huge monitor. He was visually impaired. It did everything, including talk back to you when you typed an email.
Awesome.
Could make the apps huge so he could see. Bottom line, after he passed away last year...
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. The VA... allowed me to kind of put my stuff on this computer, so I only had to deal with one.
Nice.
We were serviced by a company named Boundless up in Oregon, where anytime we had a problem, I would call them. They would log into the computer and fix it. Well, I just found out that has expired, and they're not willing to renew it, even if I paid for the service.
Really? They don't want to, huh?
They don't want me.
They don't want to.
So it's an HP Pavilion. It has Windows 10. They did add that in 2020.
Good.
But now I am getting continuous pop-ups, ads, just all sorts of things.
Yeah, this is why I hate Windows, by the way, because it's a security nightmare. And in general, if you don't have an IT department, you were lucky, you had Boundless.
Oh, they were wonderful.
Yeah, but if you don't have an IT department, Windows can really be a nightmare. You don't want to become a security guru. So, Faith, you now have to, unfortunately. These pop-ups...
What I was calling is, other than going through Best Buy and the Geek Squad, do you have a company that you could recommend that I can use to lift this computer and take it to a location at my age and my health is not really conducive? So is there a remote company that you use that you can recommend?
I do not, and I don't have one I recommend, but I'm sure they're out there. We used to have an advertiser, and I don't know if they operate in Anaheim, but you might check their website, Nerds on Site, NERDSONSITE. They're a good company, and they do exactly this. They help people. They become your IT department. But I don't know if their reach extends to Anaheim or not. So it's worth checking at least the website, NERDSONSITE.com.
Yeah,
but,
the other thing is...
So just so you know what's going on, you have an infection. I'll be your doctor. You have an infection. I wish I could just give you a prescription for it. Unfortunately, the prescription is you have to go into your browser. There's some extension that's probably been installed in your browser. We call it a browser hijacker object. Okay. As you probably noticed, the tech industry loves acronyms. Another one we use is PUP. It's a PUP, a potentially unwanted program. No potential here. It is definitely unwanted. It's very common. You go to a site, the site will behind the scenes install an extension, or you download software and you don't notice there's a little checkbox that says you want our super duper ad extension on your system, and you don't notice it and you say okay, and it's installed. The good news is these are fairly easily removed, and it shouldn't be hard for some company to do this even remotely. So and if somebody has a suggestion for a Southern California company that's reliable that will do this remotely, let us know. We got to play the William Shatner version of this song for Rod Pyle. He's our official rocket man, the editor-in-chief of Ad Astra magazine from the National Space Society, space.nss.org, author of many great books about space, including Space 2.0. Rocket Man. There is a William Shatner version of that song, isn't there?
Yes, there is.
Have you heard it?
Oh, many times. Please don't. And he's doing another one based on the flight he just took, which is what we're going to talk about today.
I noticed.
Talk about anything else.
So I'm watching CNN, and of course, Bill Shatner just went up in subspace,
suborbital, yeah.
suborbital, with the Blue Origin rocket, the New Shepard rocket. And I'm watching. I watched the launch and everything. He's in tears at the end. He's so moved. And I'm watching CNN. He says, "Well, you're the 17th interview I've done today." Anderson Cooper,
a little grumpy.
Yeah, no, it's so cute because Anderson Cooper is giddy because he's obviously a Star Trek fan.
Right.
William Shatner, in case you somehow don't know, is Captain Kirk from the Star Trek TV and movie series. He's so giddy. He's so happy to talk to him. He says, "Well, I hope I'll be good. I'll be the best." And Shatner basically is going around promoting this because, and I'm thinking this is why he got the free ride. They're going to be selling this for $250,000 a pop.
Right. At least.
Might be more. Oh, wow.
Yeah, it might be more. And he did make a commitment to push STEM education and similar topics, which I think is great because New Space has gotten good coverage already. but you just can't beat this as a PR move. And they're doing another interesting PR move, by the way. They are allowing people, anybody, to create a postcard and put whatever writing or drawing you want on the back of the postcard and send it to them. In fact, I'm including 2 of them in each issue of the next 2 issues of Ad Astra. Yeah. So you fill out your stuff, you mail it to them in an envelope, they fly it, they stamp it when it comes back, which you saw Bezos do if you were watching the post-flight video. He stamped a couple of postcards, and then they send it back to you. So you get this souvenir of a flown
I'm guessing
object.
Jeff won't actually be stamping the future postcards.
Probably not, but I did have that image in my mind of him sitting there going, how many more of these damn things do I have to do?
Oh my God, what did I ever do?
But as remarkable as the flight was, and I'm with you. I mean, I thought his comments when he came back were beautiful. They were eloquent. They were what you'd expect from a Shakespearean actor, whatever caliber of Shakespeare.
And I don't, regardless whether he's paid or whatever, he clearly was greatly influenced by this. And yes. I think this is what you hear from everybody. When you go out of the Earth's atmosphere into that blackness of space, you suddenly experience the Earth in a completely different way. And I think one of the arguments for giving more people a chance to do this is when you get artists like William Shatner out there, they express it in a way that scientists, engineers, astronauts don't. They make it accessible for real people. And I really got it when he said, this is our planet. This is all we have. This is all we have. And
you're not pausing long enough between the words. Man. This is all. No beach to walk on. Yeah.
And I thought that was really good. So while I'm cynical a little bit about Blue Origin's, goals, this is really a space tourism. It's a moneymaker for them and all of that. I also support the idea that getting people, real people, normal people up there does change our outlook on life in the world.
It does. And it's interesting when you interview astronauts and my friend Frank White, who wrote The Overview Effect, has interviewed dozens of them. I've interviewed a couple dozen, I guess. And you want to talk to them about this stuff, and they're trying to express it as eloquently, as openly as they can. But in most cases, that's just not their personality, right? These are test pilots. You button down your feelings. You try not to feel fear, or if you do, you channel it properly. So you say, okay, expound on what it was like to see the fragility of Earth and that tiny envelope in an atmosphere and what we're doing to it. And there's this long pause.
It was really beautiful.
It was amazing.
Yeah, really.
10-4. So it was a really good move on their part, and I do, like you, I believe those feelings were genuine. And he's elderly, so that does prove to us that it can be done. And he also spoke about some of Bezos's goals, at least what he's elucidated in the past about, space is the place where we're going to do engineering that's going to help rescue the Earth from this current calamity of climate change, which got a little pushback from Prince William last week, as you probably saw.
No,
of all the people to come out. Yeah. So
What did Prince William say?
Well, and see, the way you said that is what I thought. I thought, wait, who? Why?
Who cares what Prince William thinks?
Banging on about, we got to fix the Earth first, and billionaires should be flying to space. It's a waste of money and so forth. It's like,
the billionaire Prince William said that?
Whose family burns $100 million a year of British tax money just to exist, right?
Yeah.
So that's a little disingenuous. And Shatner pushed back on it. He said, look, I think you're missing the point. Part of this is about moving heavy polluting industries off Earth, which is that's a far goal, but it is an important one. But in the nearer term, which Shatner also talked about, something that the National Space Society has been trying to channel for years, is let's start getting power from the sun beamed down to Earth. If you put these space solar power satellites up in orbit, they get sunlight 24 hours a day. They can beam it down where it's needed. And now you've really got something, because you're starting on unfortunately, a long path to getting us off of fossil fuels. And that's the major problem, right? So I love that he talked about that. And we haven't heard a co-rebuttal from Prince William yet, but we will. And then George Takei kind of jumped in. And
Mr. Sulu from the same show. Yeah.
And he and William Shatner have a kind of long-standing feud that dates back to the original episode, the original show. And Shatner has admitted he was kind of difficult in the original show. They're still talking about it, right? And I think the press took Takei's comments a little bit out of context. They said, he called him a guinea pig and that he was unfit. And he's, what Takei said is they needed a space guinea pig, and they probably could have found somebody more fit than the Bill at 90. But it was a legitimate thing to do. So yeah, there's still some clause there, but they're not nearly how they're being represented. Is it important? I don't think so.
I got no problem with William Shatner. I think it's wonderful that he got up there and all that stuff. I'm not crazy about the idea of an amusement park ride for billionaires. How, just out of curiosity, environmentally, what's the impact of these launches? Are they horrific? Are they like a jet plane flight across the? I mean, people are flying every day.
Yeah, it depends on the rocket. The ones we're flying now, which is primarily the Falcon 9 and others like it, are using kerosene as their fuel. And yeah, there's carbon pollutants from that.
Okay.
But as you get into the more advanced propulsion systems, like the SLS's main core, now the SLS has dirty solid boosters, but the main core is hydrogen and oxygen. And Starship is going to be methane and oxygen. And they're low in emissions.
They're clean.
Especially hydrogen, because you're just putting out water, right? That's why we want hydrogen cars. Methane's a little dirtier, but it's still way better than kerosene.
I don't think a $250,000 amusement park ride that pollutes the atmosphere horrifically is a great idea, right? I'm not a fan of that because it doesn't.
Although how much do we pollute when we fly off to various destinations on Earth in a jet, which happens thousands of times a day?
Yeah, that's true.
So let's compare it to that. This is going to be just a drop in the bucket. But yeah, it is a consideration. It's more of a PR consideration, I think, until they really get going in great volume of flights. Then maybe the something we have to talk about. But by then we're using cleaner fuels.
Right. Yeah, and we're launching, 12,000 satellites for Starlink into space. Blue Origin's going to launch its 10,000. And we're doing all sorts of stuff. I do agree that space is important to our species for a variety of reasons. And so it was, and let's face it, to our generation, Captain Kirk is an icon. And I'm nothing but happy for William Shatner getting to do that and sharing it with us in a way that we could get.
Yeah, and flying people like him, or let's say they take up Harrison Ford next, and hopefully they have a safe 3.
That would be fun.
They do. Now you've got people who are influencers, and that's the name of the game.
Can you bring the Wookiee? I don't know if he'd fit. Rod Pyle,
I don't know.
Editor-in-Chief of Ad Astra. Get the new issue and get your postcards. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Yeah, I mean, I'm watching this and I'm thinking, it's just, first of all, the only thing that really bugs me is how the Blue Origin announcers are acting like this is some momentous occasion. Instead of a very expensive amusement park ride. I mean, they're not doing anything that we didn't do 50 years ago. In fact, they're doing less. So, I mean, even Alan Shepard's flight probably went higher than the Kallman line, I would guess. I don't know. Did it?
The Kármán line? Yeah.
Kármán line.
About the same, but it was longer.
Right.
And it was an engineering flight. I mean, that was the pioneering flight for our space program. So this is a bit of a follow-on. And I was more a fan of the Inspiration 4 flight because A, they were doing it for charity, and B, it went in orbit for 3 days. But it's all important. And again, Bezos is developing technologies that will ultimately do, we hope, great things.
Jeff's goals, and I've been reading the new book, Amazon Unbound, which talks a lot about his goals with Blue Origin. And I think those are fine. I think those are laudable. Space tourism, I don't know if we really need that, but I like asteroid mining and energy from the stars and all that stuff. That's exciting, and I think we need to do that. But you have
to make money to support that. I guess the question is, will space tourism be a large enough business to support those enterprises, or is this a blip on the radar? And how many of these people are going to fly more than once? Shatner's made it clear he's not.
He's done.
He said he'd rather be here petting his dog than going into space again, but he enjoyed the flight.
I'm just glad he survived because I was worried about 5Gs and man.
Yeah, or an equipment malfunction, which will happen someday. We'll lose somebody someday, but we lose people.
It's not less dangerous than ever, right? Or is it?
I'd say it's become a lot more routine. When Shepard flew, there had been no people on the Mercury capsule, and only a couple of test flights, which had a lot of problems.
Right.
So the new Shepard rocket's had been flown 15 times, 16 times uncrewed. I guess 15 times. So it's pretty safe. And I think you could say the same thing about the Falcon 9 now. When you're launching people on that, it's flown so many times. It's become almost an airliner, but not quite. But that's the goal, right? We want this to become like commercial aviation.
See, if this goes like from New York to Paris in 3 seconds, then I'm all for it. That's different.
You get the same view, right? Probably higher. So that's the part I like. I'll pay my double.
I hope in my lifetime I can do that. That would be a lot of fun.
Would you do that over an Alaskan cruise? Probably.
Oh yeah.
Would Lisa go?
Oh yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. No, I'd love to do that, but I don't know if that'll happen in my lifetime. We'll see.
Rod, we're gonna have to crank up our earnings to do that too. I think.
Yeah, right. $250,000. Yeah, that's about the same as a world cruise for 8 months.
For a year.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Have a great one, Rod. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care. Thank you for letting me be your tech guy. Leo Laporte here. Thanks to Professor Laura, our musical director, for keeping the discs spinning. Somewhat like Senor Wences with his spinning plate trick. Thank you to Kim Schaffer, our phone angel, for getting you on the air. Thank you all for calling and listening. I really appreciate it. Couldn't do it without you. Larry on the line from St. Paul, Minnesota. Hello, Larry.
Hello, Leo.
Welcome.
Thank you for thank you for taking my call. I've been listening to your program for at least a decade, probably closer to 15, and you are the greatest. I appreciate.
Thank you.
I appreciate your service.
I don't think anybody's been doing this longer than me. We started the podcast in 2004, started the radio show the same year. That's a long time, 17 years I've been doing this.
Well, I listen to you every week, and just to keep up to date.
Good.
Anyway,
thank you.
Let me get to the point, then you can get on to your next caller. This is an old-fashioned call, actually. Idea. I have a laptop which gave me a notice, and it's in Windows 7. Mm-hmm. It has a 1 terabyte hard drive on it. Gave me a notice that I was running out of hard disk space. And while I moved a few files around, got where I had. Now I've got 16 rather than 2 gigabytes left on this 1 terabyte.
Yeah, 2 is getting really low. It doesn't like Windows. No operating system likes getting that low.
Yeah. So, I moved some stuff over to another drive to free up some space. But anyway, I thought, I wonder who's taking up all the room. So I did using the Windows disk cleanup.
Yeah.
And when it finished analyzing, it had a bunch of stuff like recycle bin and so forth and so on. It also had temporary internet files, which I got rid of those. I didn't have any problem with that.
Right.
But then I've got a listing in here that says temporary files, 98.6 gigabytes.
Holy moly mackerel. Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah. So my question is, the first question is, do I dare delete that without having a recent backup? My last backup was probably a month ago.
Yes, absolutely. That's why they're called temp files. You don't need them. So when you go to the disk cleanup tool and just hit Windows key, type disk cleanup, you get right to it in Windows. You'll notice there is a bunch of different kinds of files, and you can check the boxes. But even more below it, there's a button that says Clean Up System Files. You can safely click that button and delete those as well. They're temp files, which means no one needs them at all. They're created by various programs. 98 gigabytes is a lot. You said it's not your internet files. That's not unusual for the internet. Your browser will cache. And it may be that it is internet files, even though it's not designating them as such, because maybe you're using a browser like Chrome or Firefox that Windows doesn't know about. But those files are saved so that when you browse that page again, it doesn't have to download them again. And certainly it speeds up browsing, but at no point is any temporary file necessary. They'll be recreated if they're needed.
Oh, that would happen. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know that. Do you have any? This hard drive that's in here, it's probably been in there a couple years, and Is it possible that there's something happening within my computer that's just dumping all this stuff?
Oh, no. It's completely normal. That's why Microsoft offers this disk cleanup tool. Here's the thing. Most of the time, temporary files should be deleted by the programs that created them. Mm-hmm. It's very common to create temporary files. If you use Photoshop, it's going to create a few temporary files that represent the image in different states, et cetera, et cetera. And in theory, you close Photoshop, those temps are deleted. But unfortunately, a lot of programs do not delete temporary files. They leave them lying around. Sometimes for good reason. Your browser's leaving them lying around because you might go back to that page. But in general, a program should delete temporary files. Programs often do not. It's normal, and it's a great idea to clean them up. Honestly, it's unusual to see such a large number because Windows itself will clean up temporary files. But that's why they give you this disk cleanup tool.
Okay.
So you can get rid of them in case we didn't.
That's cool. I really didn't know anything about it until I started checking into it and so forth. So
yeah, most of them are. There's a number of reasons they're created. The internet files are cache files, which means they're there to speed up downloads in the future. And then the other temp files usually are just backups of data as it's being worked on, that kind of thing. It's very common. You definitely get rid of them all.
Okay. Well, I didn't have the guts to do it on my own.
No, I'm glad you called. You're right. It's completely reasonable to be a little nervous about deleting files of any kind.
Yeah, and my backup drive that I have is only a 1 gigabyte anyway. So you can't get 98 gigabytes of temp files on a 1 gigabyte drive. It's probably larger than that. It's probably a terabyte, I'm hoping. But so it is a terabyte.
Yeah, a gigabyte would be pretty useless these days. Although I remember, PCs, when they first came with drives bigger than 2 gigabytes, which seems hard to believe, it was a big deal. And we actually had to divide the drives up because the operating system couldn't see a hard disk larger than 2 gigabytes. Now, terabytes.
I go back that far.
Yeah, I remember it well, too. So, yeah, it's fine. There's a great little program that's free that you might want to try called WinDirStat, WinDirStat, that gives you a graphic view of what's eating up your space. So you get beautiful kind of color blobs, and each color corresponds to a type of file. And this is very handy because you may also be eating up space with video files, music files, things like you don't need anymore. So this will give you a good sense of what you've got.
Okay, well, that's a good suggestion.
Yeah, WinDirStat, and that's free.
I know that I use a Cronus on my wife's computer, and it shows that information.
Yeah, it's really nice to see it that way because we can quickly grok what's going on. Hey, a pleasure talking to you, Larry.
Yeah, pleasant talking to you too, Leo, and thanks again for your
Never hesitate to ask if you're nervous about deleting something because, you can cause problems by aggressively deleting things. So it's always good to ask. But disk cleanup will never get you in trouble. Anything from Microsoft's not going to get you in trouble. The last thing they do want is your support call. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Have a great Geek Week. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget, TWiT, TWiT. It stands for This Week in Tech, and you'll find it at twit.tv, including the podcasts for this show. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on MacBreak Weekly, iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches on iOS Today, security on Security Now. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And, of course, the big show every Sunday afternoon, This Week in Tech. You'll find it all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next week with another great Tech Guys show. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.